Beneath the rain-soaked streets of Gotham City lies a secret older than Batman himself, a hidden network of wealthy elites, corrupt officials, criminal empires, and unseen rulers who may have controlled the city for generations without ever stepping into the light. While the world watches masked villains and rooftop battles, another war quietly unfolds beneath Gotham's surface, hidden inside abandoned tunnels, ancient buildings, political offices, and whispered nursery rhymes about the Court of Owls. But how deep does this conspiracy truly go? And has Batman been fighting only the symptoms of Gotham's corruption instead of the force secretly shaping the city all along? Tonight, we descend into Gotham's darkest mystery to uncover the terrifying truth behind its shadow government, the city beneath the surface. Long before the signal ever burned across the clouds above Gotham City, before masked criminals turned fear into theater, and before the dark figure of Batman began watching the rooftops from the shadows, the city already carried something old and heavy inside it, something difficult to explain yet impossible to ignore, because Gotham was never simply a city made from steel, concrete, and crowded streets, but a place shaped by generations of silence, by secrets hidden behind locked doors, by powerful men speaking softly in dark rooms, while ordinary people walked beneath them without ever knowing their names. From far away, Gotham almost looks beautiful, in the kind of way storms sometimes look beautiful before they arrive, because the skyline rises sharply into the clouds, like giant stone towers trying to escape the earth itself, while old bridges stretch across black rivers beneath endless sheets of rain, and lights flicker through thousands of windows, like tired stars trapped inside buildings that have stood for over 100 years. Yet the closer someone moves toward the city, the more the illusion begins to break apart, because Gotham does not shine the way other cities shine. Its beauty feels worn down, aged by time and pressure, as though every street corner has witnessed something terrible and simply learned to remain quiet about it. The air often feels cold there, even during nights that should feel warm, and rain falls so often that the streets almost seem designed for it, with water sliding endlessly down cracked walls, dripping from rusted fire escapes, gathering beside broken sidewalks where old newspapers stick to the pavement like forgotten warnings. The buildings themselves appear exhausted, leaning over narrow streets as though carrying memories too heavy to hold forever. And everywhere there are signs that Gotham once dreamed of greatness, long before that dream became twisted into something darker. There are theaters with faded golden decorations where crowds no longer gather, old train stations filled with silence instead of passengers, abandoned factories standing beside rivers thick with smoke, and ancient mansions hidden behind iron gates where some of Gotham's richest families still live, surrounded by paintings, portraits, and stories that stretch back across generations. These families speak of tradition, honor, and legacy, yet many people in Gotham quietly wonder how so much wealth managed to survive while entire neighborhoods slowly collapsed around them. In some parts of the city, children grow up hearing strange warnings from older relatives who speak about Gotham almost as if it were alive, because there are certain roads people avoid at night, certain buildings nobody enters willingly, and certain names that are only spoken softly, especially after midnight when the streets become empty and the sounds of distant sirens echo through the rain. Gotham teaches its people very early that danger is not always loud, because the most frightening things are often hidden beneath calm faces and expensive suits. The city government always claims it is fighting corruption, and every few years another mayor stands behind microphones promising change, promising safer streets, promising honest leadership. Yet somehow, the violence continues, no matter who wins elections, and the poor districts remain trapped beneath crime, while powerful businessmen continue growing richer behind towering office windows high above the streets below. Police commissioners arrive speaking about justice, reform, and hope, but many either disappear, resign, become corrupted, or slowly realize that Gotham's problems run much deeper than ordinary crime. Because in Gotham, corruption does not feel accidental, it feels ancient. Money moves through the city like blood through veins, flowing quietly between politicians, corporations, criminal groups, judges, and powerful social circles, where deals are made during expensive dinners far away from public attention. Entire sections of Gotham seem controlled by invisible hands that never appear in newspapers, yet somehow influence everything from construction projects to police investigations. Certain criminals avoid arrest for years, despite everyone knowing exactly who they are, while honest officers sometimes vanish from important cases without explanation, as though unseen forces gently remove obstacles before the truth can fully surface. Many citizens eventually stop asking questions because Gotham has a way of exhausting people, slowly teaching them that survival matters more than understanding, and this feeling spreads across the city like fog settling between the streets. Shop owners lock their doors earlier each year, families avoid traveling alone after dark, and ordinary workers lower their voices whenever conversations move toward politics, wealthy families, or the strange patterns hidden beneath Gotham's endless chaos. Yet, even among all this fear, there remains something deeply fascinating about the city, something that pulls people toward it despite its dangers, because Gotham carries the feeling of an unfinished mystery, the sense that somewhere beneath the noise of traffic, police sirens, and falling rain, another hidden version of the city exists quietly underneath the surface. It is visible in old underground tunnels, running beneath modern streets, in sealed passageways discovered behind ancient walls, and in forgotten subway platforms covered in dust where no trains arrive anymore. Gotham is filled with places that feel abandoned yet strangely untouched, as though someone still watches over them from the dark. Some historians inside Gotham have written about secret groups that may have shaped the city from the beginning, organizations connected to the wealthiest families and oldest institutions. Though many of these stories are dismissed as myths, conspiracy theories, or frightened rumors passed between generations, still, strange details continue appearing again and again throughout Gotham's history, details difficult to explain away completely. Important witnesses vanish before trials begin. Construction projects receive approval despite public outrage. Criminal empires survive decades without fully collapsing. Even powerful leaders sometimes behave less like rulers and more like actors following instructions written by someone else. And that is where Gotham becomes truly unsettling, because the deeper one looks into the city, the more difficult it becomes to identify who actually holds power there. The mayor speaks confidently during interviews, yet mayors come and go while Gotham never truly changes. Police commanders organize crackdowns against organized crime, yet crime somehow adapts faster than law enforcement can respond. Wealthy business owners donate millions toward rebuilding neighborhoods, while quietly expanding control over entire districts at the same time. Even crime bosses who appear powerful often seem strangely careful about crossing invisible lines nobody fully understands. It creates the uncomfortable feeling that Gotham's visible leaders may only stand at the front of something much larger hidden behind them, like puppets placed on a stage, while unseen hands move the strings from somewhere deep within the darkness. This feeling becomes stronger at night. When the rain covers the streets and fog rolls between the buildings, Gotham begins to feel less like a modern city and more like a giant machine built long ago for purposes ordinary people were never meant to understand. Gargoyles stare down from ancient rooftops. Broken statues stand inside forgotten courtyards. Massive towers block out the moon, while shadows gather between alleyways narrow enough to swallow light itself. Sometimes the city feels frozen between different centuries, unable to fully leave its past behind, and everywhere there are reminders of old dynasties. Family names carved into libraries, hospitals, theaters, universities, bridges, and government buildings continue appearing across Gotham no matter where someone travels, because the same bloodlines seem connected to every important part of the city's history. Some families lost power openly through scandals, financial collapse, or tragedy, yet others survived quietly through decades of change, while remaining strangely untouched by the destruction surrounding them. Their mansions still stand high above the city on hills overlooking the skyline, protected by walls, gates, and generations of influence strong enough to survive almost anything. Ordinary citizens may never meet these people directly, yet their presence can still be felt everywhere, hidden behind company logos, political donations, and private meetings held far from public view. Gotham often feels divided into two separate worlds, existing side by side without truly touching each other. One world filled with fear, overcrowded streets, and desperation, while another operates quietly above it through wealth, privilege, and silence. And somewhere between those two worlds lies the city's greatest mystery. Because Gotham's darkness does not behave randomly, it moves with strange patterns, as though guided by forces most citizens cannot see. Every attempt to save the city seems to awaken new dangers. Every promise of reform eventually collapses beneath corruption, violence, or betrayal. The city absorbs hope the way old stone absorbs rain, slowly and completely, until even good people begin wondering whether Gotham wants to remain broken. That question has haunted the city for generations. Who truly controls Gotham from the shadows? Is it the politicians standing behind podiums beneath flashing cameras, or the billionaires watching from the windows of towering skyscrapers? Is it the criminal empires ruling entire districts through fear and violence, or something even older hidden beneath the city itself? Are Gotham's leaders making choices freely, or are they following paths designed long before they were born? The deeper these questions become, the stranger Gotham begins to feel, because beneath the streets, beneath the government buildings, beneath the old family mansions and crowded neighborhoods, there is always the growing sense that another layer of the city exists hidden underneath everything else, silent and patient, watching from the dark while Gotham continues stumbling through endless nights of rain, fear, and secrets. Gotham, before Batman, before the signal lit the clouds above Gotham City and before the shadow of Batman became part of the city's mythology, Gotham already carried a long and troubled history buried beneath its streets, because the darkness that later consumed the city did not suddenly appear in one generation, nor did it begin with masked criminals or theatrical violence, but instead grew slowly across decades, like cracks spreading through old stone, becoming deeper and more dangerous each year, while most people were too busy surviving to notice how serious the damage had already become. Long before Gotham became known for fear and madness, it was a city driven by ambition, expansion, and industry, a place where enormous ships once crowded the harbors, carrying coal, machinery, steel, and workers from distant places, hoping to build new lives beside the growing skyline. Smoke poured endlessly from factory towers that stood beside the rivers, and the sound of machines echoed through entire neighborhoods from sunrise until deep into the night. During those years, Gotham looked like a city racing toward greatness, with railroads expanding, bridges stretching farther across the water, and massive construction projects changing the skyline almost every season. The city grew quickly because powerful businessmen understood that Gotham's location made it valuable for trade and industry, and soon, enormous fortunes began forming around shipping companies, banks, steel factories, rail systems, and construction firms, controlled by a small number of wealthy families whose influence reached deeper into the city each year. These families built grand hotels, theaters, museums, universities, and towering office buildings, carrying their names across the entrances in polished stone, and many newspapers praised them as visionaries who helped transform Gotham into one of the most important cities in the country. But beneath all that progress, another Gotham was growing at the same time. While wealthy investors celebrated inside expensive halls filled with music and golden lights, thousands of workers crowded into narrow districts filled with smoke, polluted water, and buildings packed tightly together beside dangerous factories where accidents happened often and safety mattered very little compared to profit. Entire families sometimes lived inside single, small apartments, while children worked long hours beside adults simply to help pay for food. Disease spread easily through overcrowded streets, and many workers who helped build Gotham's wealth died before ever escaping poverty themselves. The city already carried inequality in its foundation long before anyone wore a mask. At the top of Gotham stood families with enormous power, while below them existed districts where ordinary citizens struggled through endless cycles of exhaustion, crime, and desperation. Some neighborhoods received beautiful parks, new schools, and clean transportation systems, while others remained forgotten beside factories leaking smoke into the air and chemicals into the rivers. Gotham expanded quickly, but the benefits of that growth never reached everyone equally. This divide slowly began shaping the city's personality. The wealthy parts of Gotham became places filled with private clubs, grand mansions, and elegant social gatherings where powerful people discussed politics, investments, and future projects, while servants moved quietly through enormous rooms lined with paintings and chandeliers. Yet only a short distance away existed crowded streets where violence became increasingly common because poverty, hunger, and hopelessness pushed many people toward theft, gang activity, and illegal work simply to survive. And the more Gotham grew, the more corruption began spreading through its political system. Construction companies bribed city officials to approve dangerous projects faster. Wealthy business owners funded political campaigns in exchange for influence over laws and contracts. Police officers were sometimes paid to ignore criminal activity connected to important people, while judges quietly protected certain businessmen from punishment, even when evidence against them became impossible to ignore. Newspapers occasionally exposed scandals involving bribery, missing money, or suspicious political deals, yet most cases disappeared quickly before serious consequences ever arrived. Many citizens already understood something important about Gotham during those early decades, because even then the city often felt controlled by invisible arrangements hidden behind public events. Elections still happened, speeches were still given, and newspapers still praised new leadership, but real power seemed to move quietly through private meetings, financial deals, and social connections between wealthy families who remained influential no matter which politicians officially held office. Some historians later described Gotham during this period as a city divided between two governments, one visible and one hidden. The visible government stood in front of cameras and promised order, progress, and reform, while the hidden one operated quietly through wealth, pressure, and favors exchanged behind closed doors. Ordinary people rarely saw these systems directly, yet they could feel the results everywhere around them. Certain companies always won contracts no matter how poorly they performed. Certain criminal groups survived despite repeated police investigations. Certain family names continued appearing beside every important institution in the city generation after generation. And still, Gotham kept growing. Rail lines stretched farther into the city, massive bridges connected expanding districts, banks multiplied beside the financial centers, while wealthy investors purchased entire neighborhoods before development projects transformed them into profitable business areas. But many people living inside Gotham's poorest sections never experienced this prosperity at all. Instead, they watched old communities disappear beneath construction projects designed to benefit people wealthier than themselves. Violence slowly became part of daily life. Street gangs formed inside overcrowded districts where police rarely offered real protection, and organized crime groups began expanding through gambling operations, smuggling networks, protection rackets, and illegal businesses hidden behind ordinary storefronts. Some officers accepted money to look away, while criminal groups gained influence over docks, warehouses, transportation routes, and political offices. By the time city leaders publicly acknowledged the seriousness of organized crime, many criminal networks were already deeply connected to Gotham's economy. Yet the most unsettling part of Gotham's early history was not simply the corruption or violence, but the strange feeling that these problems sometimes appeared coordinated as though different forces inside the city quietly worked together, even while pretending to oppose one another publicly. There were rumors even then. Workers whispered about powerful men meeting secretly inside old buildings after midnight. Journalists spoke carefully about social clubs connected to judges, businessmen, and political leaders whose influence reached across multiple industries. Certain reporters investigating corruption disappeared from important stories without explanation, while others suddenly changed their opinions after private meetings with wealthy individuals. Sometimes entire investigations vanished from newspapers almost overnight despite strong evidence that should have created public outrage. The deeper people looked into Gotham's power structure, the stranger the city became. Old records occasionally referenced mysterious organizations connected to Gotham's earliest elite families, though details remained unclear because many documents were lost, destroyed, or hidden over time. Some stories described private gatherings held beneath ancient buildings. Others mentioned secret symbols discovered within old architecture or strange meetings involving city leaders whose names repeatedly appeared throughout Gotham's history across different generations. Most people dismissed these rumors as exaggerations born from fear and frustration, because Gotham already suffered from enough crime and corruption without adding mysterious secret societies to the list of problems. Yet even those who laughed at the stories often admitted something felt unusual about the city's oldest institutions and wealthiest bloodlines. There were families in Gotham who seemed almost impossible to remove from power completely. Even after scandals, financial disasters, or political failures, certain names continued surviving decade after decade through banks, universities, charities, corporations, and government influence. Younger generations inherited positions of authority almost automatically, while ordinary citizens struggled endlessly for basic opportunities. Gotham claimed to reward hard work and ambition, yet the same powerful circles remained at the center of the city no matter how much the outside world changed. Over time, many citizens stopped believing corruption could truly be defeated. Police officers who tried exposing bribery sometimes lost their careers. Honest politicians found themselves blocked by wealthy donors and hidden pressure from powerful interests. Journalists investigating organized crime often discovered connections leading toward respected businessmen or important public figures whose reputations protected them from consequences. Gotham slowly taught people that truth alone was rarely enough to challenge those holding real influence. And still, the city kept building upward. Towering buildings rose higher beside older neighborhoods, slowly collapsing from neglect, creating a skyline that almost looked like two separate cities existing together at once. At night, lights from expensive towers reflected across dark water, while entire districts remained trapped in poverty beneath them. Gotham became a place where luxury and suffering existed side by side so closely that one could almost reach across the street and touch the other. Children growing up during these years learned quickly that the city did not protect everyone equally. Some people lived behind gates and private security, while others walked home carefully through dangerous streets after long factory shifts, hoping not to encounter violence before reaching their doors. Entire communities became familiar with corruption as something ordinary, almost expected, because every institution appeared touched by it in some way. Teachers warned students to stay away from certain areas. Parents taught children which police officers could not be trusted. Workers remained silent around powerful employers because losing jobs often meant losing everything. The city's fear did not arrive suddenly, like a storm. It developed slowly, through years of disappointment, betrayal, and survival. And somewhere beneath all this growth, wealth, corruption, and violence, another idea quietly began spreading through Gotham's darker corners. An idea that the city's chaos was not entirely natural, because too many events seemed connected, too many powerful figures escaped punishment, and too many secrets remained hidden beneath layers of influence, stretching back across generations. People started wondering whether Gotham's visible leaders truly controlled the city at all. Perhaps the mayors, judges, police officials, and businessmen standing before the public were only part of something larger operating behind them, something older than organized crime and more powerful than politics alone. Rumors described hidden groups shaping Gotham's direction quietly from the shadows, guiding decisions before the public ever realized choices had already been made. No one could fully prove these stories. Yet in Gotham, uncertainty often felt more frightening than truth itself, because even before masked vigilantes, costumed criminals, and endless battles beneath the rain, Gotham already carried the feeling of a city watched by unseen eyes, a place where power moved through secret paths hidden beneath public life, while ordinary people remained trapped inside systems designed long before they were born. And as the years passed, as corruption deepened and violence spread further across the streets, the city continued drifting towards something darker, waiting quietly in its future, though almost nobody yet understood how far Gotham would eventually fall. The families who built Gotham. As the years passed inside Gotham City and the streets grew heavier with crime, political scandals, and widening divisions between wealth and poverty, another truth slowly became impossible to ignore. Because behind nearly every important institution in Gotham stood the same family names appearing again and again across generations, like shadows stretching endlessly through the city's history. Long before masked vigilantes climbed across rooftops, and long before fear became part of Gotham's nightly identity, powerful bloodlines had already rooted themselves deeply into the city's foundation, shaping its future quietly through wealth, influence, and silence, strong enough to survive for decades without ever fully revealing itself to ordinary people. Some cities are controlled by governments, some by corporations, and others by violence alone, yet Gotham often felt different, because its deepest power seemed connected to families whose influence passed from parent to child, like inheritance carved directly into the bones of the city itself. Their names appeared everywhere, on hospitals, libraries, rail stations, universities, bridges, newspapers, charities, and enormous towers overlooking the skyline, until it became difficult to separate Gotham's history from the families who helped build it. Among the most respected names stood the Wayne family, a bloodline connected to enormous wealth, philanthropy, and public admiration across generations. The Waynes were often described as Gotham's nobility, not through royal titles but through influence, powerful enough to shape entire sections of the city. Their fortune grew through industry, medicine, architecture, and business investments that expanded steadily, while Gotham transformed into a massive industrial center. Many citizens genuinely viewed the Waynes as protectors of the city because their money funded hospitals, orphanages, educational programs, and public projects meant to improve life for ordinary people struggling beneath Gotham's growing pressure. Yet even admiration could not fully erase the strange distance separating families like the Waynes from the people living below them. Their estates stood high above the city, surrounded by enormous grounds, iron gates, and private roads that kept the noise of Gotham far away. While factory workers crowded into narrow apartments and crime spread through neglected districts, Gotham's wealthiest families attended private gatherings beneath crystal chandeliers, where conversations about politics, business, and city planning shaped decisions affecting millions of lives outside those walls. The Waynes were not alone in this world. The Kane family carried influence through military connections, old wealth, and social prestige, reaching across Gotham's upper class for generations. Their name appeared beside important charities, elite schools, and powerful business circles connected closely to the city's leadership. The Kanes represented the kind of old Gotham power that rarely needed public attention because their influence already existed quietly behind the scenes, where deals were made long before newspapers reported them. Then there were families like the Elliott family, whose fortunes expanded through real estate, finance, and investments spread carefully across Gotham's growing economy. Their wealth gave them access to private clubs, political donors, and influential networks where important decisions moved quietly between trusted hands. People rarely spoke openly about families like the Elliots, because Gotham's upper class operated through unspoken rules, where maintaining appearances mattered almost as much as maintaining control itself. And perhaps no family better represented Gotham's darker transformation than the Cobblepot family, whose old aristocratic image slowly decayed alongside the city itself. Once respected among Gotham's social elite, the Cobblepots became symbols of how wealth, bitterness, and ambition could twist together over time beneath the pressure of Gotham's unforgiving environment. Their story reflected the city's strange ability to corrupt even those born into privilege, because in Gotham, money alone never guaranteed safety from darkness. What connected these families was not simply wealth, but longevity. Most ordinary citizens struggled simply to survive one difficult generation after another, yet Gotham's elite bloodlines continued protecting their fortunes, properties, and influence decade after decade, no matter how much the city changed around them. Political leaders came and went. Police commissioners retired or disappeared beneath scandals. Criminal empires rose and collapsed. Economic disasters struck entire districts. Yet somehow the same powerful names remained woven into Gotham's most important institutions through every crisis. And over time, money slowly transformed into something far more powerful than simple wealth. It became control. The richest families in Gotham rarely needed to hold public office directly because they already influenced the people who did. Campaign donations shaped elections quietly behind the scenes, while newspapers, owned by wealthy investors, controlled public narratives about crime, reform, and leadership. Judges attended social gatherings hosted by elite families. Business owners financed political careers in exchange for favorable decisions later. Important contracts moved toward companies connected to the same circles of influence again and again. To ordinary citizens, Gotham's government looked democratic on the surface, yet beneath that surface existed a network of relationships so deeply connected that separating politics from wealth became nearly impossible. The city's upper class understood something very important early in Gotham's history, because direct power often creates resistance, while hidden influence survives more easily in silence. Instead of ruling openly, Gotham's elite families built systems that allowed them to guide events quietly while remaining protected behind public respectability. They funded charities while purchasing land across struggling districts. They donated to hospitals while influencing construction contracts worth enormous amounts of money. They spoke publicly about morality, law, and responsibility while maintaining private relationships with people capable of protecting their interests, no matter what happened inside the city. Fear became part of this system too, though not always through violence alone. In Gotham's wealthiest circles, fear often moved through reputation, exclusion, pressure, and secrets capable of destroying careers quietly without ever needing public scandals. Journalists learned which stories should not be pursued too aggressively. Politicians understood which donors could not be challenged safely. Business competitors sometimes found themselves blocked from opportunities after crossing powerful families connected deeply within Gotham's social structure. The city's upper class rarely shouted. They rarely threatened openly. Their power worked more quietly than that. A person could lose funding, support, contracts, or influence almost overnight after angering the wrong people. And because Gotham's elite families controlled so many important institutions, resisting them often meant risking financial ruin or social isolation strong enough to destroy entire careers. Many citizens eventually accepted these invisible boundaries, simply because survival inside Gotham already felt difficult enough without fighting forces larger than themselves. The deeper one examined Gotham's history, the stranger these connections became. The same family names repeatedly appeared beside important political moments stretching back generations. Construction projects reshaping entire districts often benefited companies linked to Gotham's oldest bloodlines. Historical records describing corruption scandals sometimes ended abruptly when investigations approached certain wealthy circles. Even organized crime occasionally seemed connected to elite interests through indirect relationships, difficult to prove completely, yet impossible to ignore entirely. There were whispers, of course. Stories passed quietly through reporters, historians, retired officials, and longtime citizens who believed Gotham's most powerful families knew far more about the city's hidden operations than they publicly admitted. Some claimed secret meetings occurred between political figures and wealthy elites during moments of crisis. Others spoke about private organizations existing behind Gotham's social clubs, where influence moved quietly between generations beyond public oversight. No one could fully confirm these rumors, yet Gotham's history created the perfect environment for suspicion to grow. Because whenever disasters struck the city, whenever corruption investigations threatened powerful interests, or whenever violence exposed weaknesses inside Gotham's institutions, the elite families somehow survived intact, while ordinary citizens suffered the worst consequences. Entire neighborhoods collapsed beneath poverty, while old fortunes remained protected behind investment networks and inherited property stretching across the city. Over time, Gotham's upper class began feeling less like ordinary wealthy citizens and more like permanent fixtures woven into the city itself. Children born into these families inherited more than money. They inherited access, connections, education, influence, and protection from systems designed long before they arrived. They attended private schools where future politicians, business leaders, and legal officials formed relationships lasting entire lifetimes. They entered social circles closed to ordinary people. They learned how Gotham truly functioned far away from public speeches and campaign promises. Meanwhile, the rest of the city watched from below. Workers traveled through dangerous streets beneath towering buildings, carrying family names they would never challenge. Police officers investigated crimes connected to powerful businessmen, while quietly understanding how fragile their own positions remained. Journalists balanced truth against survival. Citizens voted during elections, while wealthy donors shaped the choices available long before ballots ever appeared. And slowly, an unsettling idea began growing stronger inside Gotham's collective memory. Perhaps the city's true rulers were never elected at all. Perhaps mayors, commissioners, and public officials merely stood at the visible edge of a much older structure, built quietly through generations of inherited influence. The real power inside Gotham may have existed in private estates, hidden meetings, investment groups, social circles, and ancient family alliances surviving beneath public life, where ordinary citizens could never fully see them. This possibility became even more disturbing because Gotham's elite rarely appeared united publicly. Families competed, disagreed, and protected their own interests separately. Yet somehow, the larger system, keeping them influential, continued surviving, no matter how many conflicts occurred between individuals within it. It was almost as though Gotham itself protected its ruling class. The city rewarded wealth with more access, more protection, and more influence, while trapping poorer citizens inside systems increasingly difficult to escape. Entire generations inherited the consequences of decisions made by powerful people they would never meet directly. Neighborhoods remained neglected for decades, while luxury districts expanded continuously. Criminal networks thrived beside political offices. Corruption investigations disappeared quietly. Economic opportunities flowed upward, while desperation spread downward, and still the old families remained standing above it all. At night, their towers and mansions glowed softly above the city, while rain covered Gotham's streets below, and from a distance it almost looked peaceful, almost beautiful, until someone remembered how much suffering existed beneath those lights. The wealthy districts felt separated from the rest of Gotham like islands protected from storms destroying the neighborhoods beyond them. Yet even within those elite circles, there remained hints of unease. Because power, built through generations, often creates fear of losing it, and Gotham's oldest families understood better than anyone how unstable the city truly was. Violence spread constantly through the streets. Organized crime expanded deeper into politics. Public trust weakened year after year. Rumors about hidden organizations and secret influence continued growing louder. Even the elite could sense something shifting beneath Gotham's surface. The city was becoming darker, and somewhere inside that darkness, behind the fortunes, family legacies, and carefully protected appearances, the question remained waiting quietly like a shadow, lingering at the edge of every conversation. If Gotham's oldest bloodlines helped shape the city from the beginning, then how much of Gotham's corruption, violence, and fear existed by accident, and how much had been allowed to grow because it benefited the people already holding power from above? See, at first, most people treated the court as nothing more than an old Gotham myth, the kind of frightening story adults quietly repeated to children during storms, when the streets outside became empty and the sound of rain tapped softly against apartment windows. The legend seemed strange even by Gotham standards, because it described a hidden organization existing beyond public view for centuries, an unseen force supposedly watching the city from the shadows, while powerful leaders, wealthy families, and ordinary citizens moved through their lives without realizing they were being observed. The oldest versions of the story often began with a rhyme. Children across Gotham sometimes heard it whispered softly by older relatives, passed down almost like a warning disguised as a nursery tale, simple enough to remember, yet unsettling enough to remain inside the mind long after hearing it. The rhyme spoke about watching carefully, about avoiding hidden places, about understanding that Gotham belonged to something ancient hiding beneath its surface. Most parents dismissed it as harmless folklore, meant to scare children into staying away from dangerous streets at night. Yet even adults occasionally lowered their voices when repeating the words aloud. That silence mattered, because in Gotham, people often laughed at stories publicly while fearing them privately. The Court of Owls became one of those stories. Over time, strange details connected to the legend started appearing throughout Gotham in ways difficult to fully explain. Historians researching old architecture sometimes discovered owl-shaped symbols carved into forgotten corners of ancient buildings where nobody could easily see them from below. Workers renovating old mansions uncovered sealed passageways hidden behind walls untouched for decades. Journalists investigating powerful political figures occasionally found references to private gatherings attended by influential people whose names stretched across Gotham's history generation after generation. None of this proved the court existed, of course. Cities filled with old wealth and corruption naturally produce strange rumors, especially cities like Gotham, where fear already shaped how people viewed the world around them. Yet the deeper certain researchers explored Gotham's past, the more often the same patterns began appearing again and again, as though invisible threads quietly connected powerful families, political scandals, suspicious disappearances, and hidden symbols scattered throughout the city. The owl itself slowly became more than an animal within Gotham's imagination. In many cultures, owls represent wisdom, silence, and the ability to see clearly in darkness. But inside Gotham, the meaning felt different, colder somehow, because the owl came to symbolize hidden observation, the feeling of being watched by something patient enough to remain unseen for years without revealing itself directly. Some citizens claimed the court chose the owl because Gotham's ordinary people were like mice, moving blindly through streets controlled by predators above them. And what made the legend truly frightening was not simply the idea of a secret society, but the possibility that the court believed Gotham belonged to them completely. According to the stories, the court did not see itself as part of Gotham's government or even separate from it. Instead, they supposedly viewed themselves as the city's true guardians and owners, the hidden force shaping Gotham from behind the scenes, while elected leaders, police commissioners, judges, and businessmen merely played temporary roles within systems the court had influenced for generations. This belief changed the meaning of every rumor connected to them. If the court truly existed, then Gotham's corruption might not simply be random greed or political failure. It could represent something organized, controlled carefully by people wealthy and powerful enough to guide the city quietly without ever standing publicly at the center of attention. The court, according to these whispers, did not need to announce itself because its influence already surrounded Gotham completely through architecture, institutions, social circles, and fear itself. Some of Gotham's oldest buildings added fuel to these fears. There were theaters where enormous owl designs appeared hidden within ceiling decorations so high above audiences that few people ever noticed them. Government buildings contained strange patterns carved beside staircases and doors. Underground tunnels beneath parts of the city connected forgotten sections of Gotham in ways difficult to map clearly. Certain mansions belonging to elite families contained rooms with unusual symbols or hidden entrances, discovered only during renovations long after the original owners died. At first, these details seemed meaningless individually, but Gotham had a strange way of making small details feel larger over time, especially when disappearances entered the stories. Throughout Gotham's history, there were moments when journalists, politicians, historians, or investigators simply vanished while examining corruption connected to powerful circles within the city. Sometimes their deaths were explained as accidents. Other times, no explanations arrived at all. Most people accepted these tragedies as part of Gotham's endless violence because the city already carried enough organized crime and political corruption to make disappearances unsurprising. Yet some citizens quietly wondered whether certain individuals had looked too deeply into places they were never supposed to examine. The court became connected to these fears almost naturally, not because clear evidence existed, but because Gotham already felt like a city controlled by unseen pressure, and the court offered an explanation frightening enough to fit the atmosphere surrounding the city itself. The idea spread slowly through police officers, reporters, criminals, and historians that perhaps Gotham's visible chaos hid a deeper order underneath it all, an invisible structure guiding events quietly while ordinary citizens only saw the surface. And the most unsettling part was how impossible the court seemed to disprove completely. Because every time someone dismissed the stories as nonsense, another strange discovery appeared somewhere inside Gotham, an old map revealing hidden chambers beneath historic districts, financial records connecting elite families through generations of secret partnerships, witnesses describing masked gatherings inside abandoned locations before disappearing from public view entirely. None of it created perfect proof, yet together the details formed something difficult to ignore, especially in Gotham's darkest corners. There were districts where old residents claimed certain streets should never be crossed late at night because they watch from above. Homeless people, sleeping near abandoned structures, sometimes described hearing movement. Inside buildings officially declared empty for years. Workers inside Gotham's oldest subway tunnels occasionally reported finding doors leading nowhere, marked with symbols resembling owls staring outward from the dark. Most rational people rejected these stories immediately, yet Gotham was never a rational city. Fear shaped how people understood reality there. And over time, the line between myth and truth slowly began dissolving, until even educated citizens found themselves wondering whether something ancient really did exist beneath Gotham's public face. The city itself almost encouraged this uncertainty. Rain covered windows and blurred distant lights until buildings appeared ghost-like through the night. Fog drifted between narrow streets where shadows hid details from view. Gargoyles and stone figures watched silently from rooftops above empty avenues. Gotham's architecture already looked designed for secrets long before anyone spoke openly about the Court of Owls, and perhaps that was why the legend survived so powerfully. The court felt believable because Gotham itself felt believable as their home, a city filled with hidden passageways, inherited wealth, political corruption, disappearing witnesses, and elite families guarding influence across generations, naturally created the perfect environment for stories about invisible rulers controlling events from the shadows. The court became less like a simple conspiracy theory and more like Gotham's reflection staring back at itself through darkness. Some people even began suggesting that Gotham's wealthiest families may have known about the court for decades, whether they admitted it publicly or not, because certain elite circles behaved strangely whenever discussions moved too close toward Gotham's oldest secrets. Conversations ended abruptly. Historical documents became difficult to access. Important witnesses suddenly lost interest in speaking further. It was as though an invisible boundary existed around the subject itself, one enforced not through open threats, but through silence, heavy enough to stop curiosity before it reached dangerous places. That silence became part of the court's power too. The organization, if real, did not dominate Gotham through loud public displays or obvious control. Their strength came from uncertainty, from the growing fear that they could exist anywhere without being seen directly. Citizens started questioning whether major political events happened naturally or whether hidden influence shaped outcomes quietly beforehand. Criminal organizations wondered whether they operated freely or only because invisible forces allowed them to continue. Even powerful figures within Gotham sometimes appeared cautious, as though aware that greater powers might exist beyond public understanding. And slowly, almost without anyone noticing exactly when it happened, the Court of Owls transformed from a simple legend into something far more dangerous. Because once enough people begin believing a myth might be true, the myth itself starts changing reality. Children repeated the rhyme not as a joke but as a warning. Police officers mentioned the court quietly during investigations involving Gotham's elite. Reporters searched for owl symbols inside historical photographs. Historians revisited old disappearances with growing suspicion. Gotham's citizens started looking upward toward rooftops, statues, and darkened windows differently, wondering who might truly be watching from above. The city's fear gave the court life, and somewhere deep within Gotham's endless shadows, hidden behind wealth, history, silence, and rain-covered stone, the possibility remained waiting like an open eye staring through the dark. What if Gotham's oldest legend was never really a legend at all? Talons, Gotham's silent executioners. As the whispers surrounding the Court of Owls spread deeper through Gotham City, another name slowly emerged beside them, a name spoken far less often and with far more fear. Because while the court itself remained hidden behind old money, secrecy, and influence, there were stories about something else moving through the darkness on their behalf. Something far more direct and far more terrifying. These figures were known as the Talons, and unlike the court, which often felt distant and almost unreal, the Talons represented violence, made physical, silent killers supposedly sent to remove anyone who threatened Gotham's hidden rulers. At first, many people believed the Talons were only another part of Gotham's endless mythology, similar to ghost stories passed through generations to frighten children and entertain criminals gathered around dimly lit bars after midnight. Gotham already carried enough legends hidden within its streets that adding masked assassins to the list did not seem impossible. Yet most citizens still treated the stories as exaggerations connected to the larger mystery surrounding the court itself. But the deeper people looked into Gotham's history, the more often strange patterns began appearing around deaths, disappearances, and unsolved killings connected to powerful interests. There were moments throughout the city's past when politicians suddenly died before exposing corruption. Journalists investigating influential families vanished without explanation. Criminal leaders who became too ambitious were discovered dead under mysterious circumstances, despite enormous security surrounding them. Witnesses disappeared before testifying in court. Historians researching Gotham's oldest secrets sometimes suffered accidents so unusual that even experienced detectives quietly admitted something felt wrong about them. And always, hidden somewhere near these stories, came whispers about the Talons. Unlike ordinary assassins motivated by money or revenge, the Talons were described as instruments of absolute obedience, killers serving the court with complete loyalty while existing almost outside normal human life itself. According to the legends, They did not work for personal gain, emotional reasons, or even survival. They existed only to protect Gotham's hidden order and eliminate threats before those threats could grow dangerous enough to expose the truth. The image surrounding the Talons became deeply unsettling because they were not imagined as loud or theatrical figures. Gotham already had violent criminals, gangs, and ruthless murderers, yet the Talons felt different. They were described as patient, quiet, and precise, moving through darkness without leaving evidence behind, appearing suddenly before disappearing again, like shadows slipping between cracks inside the city itself. Some stories claimed the Talons had existed for centuries. Old newspaper archives occasionally referenced mysterious killers connected to powerful social circles dating back generations before modern Gotham fully emerged. Certain unsolved murders from long ago described victims found with strange wounds or symbols nearby. Witnesses spoke about masked figures dressed in dark grey clothing moving silently across rooftops before vanishing into the night. Though most investigators dismissed these reports as panic or confusion, the details remained strangely consistent across decades of Gotham's history. And then there were the rumors about recruitment. The Talons, according to Gotham's darkest whispers, were not born into their role. They were chosen. Some versions of the legend claimed the court searched for vulnerable people, especially children forgotten by society, individuals without protection, families, or futures anyone would notice disappearing. Gotham had always produced countless lost souls through poverty, violence, orphaned children, and abandoned communities, creating the perfect environment for powerful predators operating unseen beneath the city's surface. Other stories suggested the court selected already dangerous individuals, people capable of surviving brutal training designed to destroy weakness and erase identity completely. Criminals, runaways, circus performers, street fighters, and abandoned youths all appeared in different versions of the stories, connected by the same terrifying idea that the court transformed human beings into living weapons through years of control and violence. What made these rumors horrifying was not simply the physical training itself, but the suggestion that Talons slowly stopped becoming ordinary people altogether. The court supposedly stripped away names, histories, emotions, and personal desires until nothing remained except loyalty and obedience. A Talon did not live for family, freedom, or personal dreams. They existed only to carry out orders given by Gotham's hidden elite, functioning less like independent individuals and more like tools sharpened carefully for generations. This idea reflected something deeply disturbing about Gotham itself. Because the city had always consumed vulnerable people, turning desperation into crime, fear into violence, and poverty into suffering passed between generations. The Talons represented the extreme version of that process, human lives taken apart piece by piece until all individuality disappeared beneath Gotham's darkest systems of power, and the stories became even stranger from there. According to the oldest rumors, the court possessed methods allowing Talons to survive far beyond normal human limits. Some claimed they were preserved in hidden chambers deep beneath Gotham, frozen between missions like weapons stored carefully until needed again. Others believed experimental chemicals or ancient preservation techniques allowed Talons to continue operating long after ordinary bodies should have failed. These stories sounded impossible, almost supernatural, yet Gotham's atmosphere made impossibility feel strangely believable after enough time spent listening to the city's endless secrets. The idea of near-immortal assassins stalking Gotham from the shadows transformed the Talons from ordinary killers into something far more frightening, because if they truly survived across generations, then Gotham's violence itself began feeling eternal, passed endlessly from one era into another, through servants loyal not to laws or governments, but to hidden rulers operating beyond public view. The Talons became symbols of continuity, proof that while politicians changed and criminal empires collapsed, the deeper forces controlling Gotham might remain untouched through centuries. Some historians examining Gotham's unexplained deaths noticed details difficult to ignore completely. Victims connected to powerful investigations sometimes suffered injuries described with unusual precision. Security systems failed moments before attacks. Witnesses reported hearing almost nothing during killings that should have created chaos. There were cases where trained bodyguards never even managed to react before targets died. These details alone proved nothing, yet together they fed the growing belief that Gotham's hidden elite possessed protectors far more dangerous than ordinary criminals. And perhaps the most terrifying aspect of the Talons was their silence. They were not described as emotional murderers driven by rage or cruelty. They did not leave dramatic messages or seek public fear the way Gotham's later supervillains often would. A Talon existed only to complete objectives efficiently before disappearing again. This calm precision made them feel less human and more like extensions of Gotham's hidden machinery, operating quietly beneath public life. The psychological horror surrounding them grew stronger because of what they represented. The Court of Owls symbolized invisible control, inherited influence, and secret power. But the Talons represented the violence necessary to protect those systems whenever silence alone failed. They were the proof that Gotham's elite could move beyond financial pressure and political manipulation whenever needed. If someone threatened the hidden order deeply enough, the city itself seemed capable of sending darkness after them physically. Ordinary citizens rarely spoke openly about the Talons because most people never expected to encounter them directly. Yet among criminals, corrupt officials, and long-time investigators, the stories carried heavier weight. Some organized crime figures reportedly avoided interfering with certain wealthy circles not because of police pressure, but because they feared attracting attention from forces operating beyond normal criminal rules. Even Gotham's underworld respected some boundaries. That fact alone disturbed many observers because it suggested an invisible hierarchy existed above the city's ordinary violence, one powerful enough to frighten people already accustomed to murder and corruption. And beneath all these stories existed another terrible truth. The Talons were not only dangerous because they killed, they were frightening because they erased humanity itself. Every version of the legend described individuals transformed into something cold, obedient, and nearly empty inside. The court supposedly removed identity so completely that Talons no longer remembered who they had once been before entering service. Memories faded, personal attachments disappeared, fear itself became meaningless. Their entire existence revolved around protecting Gotham's hidden rulers through absolute loyalty. In many ways, they became living reflections of the city that created them. Gotham had always demanded sacrifices from its people. Workers sacrificed health for survival. Families sacrificed safety simply by remaining in dangerous neighborhoods. Honest officials sacrificed careers when challenging corruption. The Talons represented the final stage of that process. Human beings consumed entirely by Gotham's systems until nothing remained except violence serving power. And slowly, the line between legend and reality continued weakening. Reports of masked figures appeared during important assassinations. Old records uncovered strange connections between elite families and unsolved deaths. Hidden chambers beneath historic buildings fueled speculation further. Some detectives investigating Gotham's oldest mysteries quietly admitted that too many details connected together too perfectly to dismiss completely. Yet certainty remained impossible. That uncertainty became part of the fear itself. Because nobody knew exactly how many Talons supposedly existed, where they hid, or whether the stories exaggerated the truth beyond recognition. Gotham's endless shadows allowed rumors to survive easily, and the city's atmosphere turned silence into something heavy enough to feel almost alive. Every dark rooftop, abandoned hallway, and empty train tunnel seemed capable of hiding unseen movement. The Talons became more than assassins within Gotham's imagination. They became proof that the city's hidden violence had structure, discipline, and purpose behind it. Gotham was no longer simply corrupt or dangerous. According to these stories, the city possessed guardians protecting its darkness deliberately, ensuring certain truths remained buried, no matter how many lives needed to disappear in order to keep them hidden. And somewhere, beneath the towering buildings, beneath the wealth, political speeches, and endless noise of public life, the possibility remained, waiting silently, like sharpened claws, hidden beneath folded wings. If Gotham's oldest rulers truly existed in secret, then perhaps the Talons were the reason nobody had ever managed to expose them completely. Corruption inside the system. Inside Gotham City, corruption did not spread like a sudden disease arriving overnight, but more like water slowly leaking into the foundations of an old building, until every hallway, every wall, and every room carried signs of damage nobody fully knew how to repair anymore. By the time most citizens realized how deeply the system had already rotted from within, the corruption had become so normal that many people stopped reacting to it at all, accepting bribery, political dishonesty, and abuse of power as unavoidable parts of everyday life. Gotham remained a city filled with laws, police officers, judges, elections, and public promises about justice. Yet beneath those visible structures existed another reality, operating quietly through fear, money, secrets, and influence, strong enough to shape nearly every institution inside the city. The most visible example of this decay could often be found within the Gotham City Police Department itself, because while many officers genuinely entered the force hoping to protect people and improve the city, they quickly discovered that surviving inside Gotham's law enforcement system often required compromises that slowly destroyed their original ideals, piece by piece. Young recruits arrived believing hard work and honesty mattered, only to learn that certain criminals could not be touched safely. Certain investigations disappeared without explanation, and certain powerful figures remained protected, no matter how much evidence surrounded them. Some officers accepted bribes openly because Gotham's crime families offered money large enough to change lives completely. Underpaid police officers, struggling to support families in dangerous neighborhoods, sometimes found themselves trapped between impossible choices, because refusing criminal payments could mean becoming targets, while accepting them offered protection and financial security the city itself often failed to provide. Organized crime groups understood this weakness perfectly, and over time, entire sections of the police department became connected to criminal operations through quiet arrangements benefiting both sides. But corruption inside Gotham's police force was not always simple greed. Fear played an enormous role too. There were officers who remained technically honest, yet stayed silent because they understood what happened to people who challenged the wrong individuals too aggressively. Detectives investigating political corruption sometimes lost promotions suddenly, or found themselves transferred away from important cases. Witnesses cooperating with honest officers disappeared before trials began. Police commanders pushing too hard against organized crime occasionally faced threats directed toward their families rather than themselves. Gotham slowly taught its officers that survival often mattered more than justice. Inside police stations across the city, this fear created an atmosphere where many good people learned to lower their eyes and avoid asking dangerous questions. Corrupt officers protected each other because exposing one dishonest figure often threatened entire networks operating together. Honest detectives became isolated, viewed almost as problems rather than heroes, because their investigations risked upsetting arrangements, quietly maintaining balance between criminals, politicians, and business interests throughout the city. And above the police department stood Gotham's political world, where corruption grew even deeper. Mayors stood before cameras, promising reform every election season, while wealthy donors quietly financed campaigns, expecting favors afterward. Political offices became places where business contracts, city development projects, and law enforcement priorities were often shaped less by public need and more by private agreements hidden behind closed doors. Powerful companies funded candidates willing to protect their interests, while criminal organizations secretly supported officials willing to ignore certain illegal activities in exchange for money or information. Many politicians arrived in office, genuinely hoping to improve Gotham, yet the city's system had a way of crushing idealism slowly over time. A new mayor might begin by promising stronger oversight against corruption, only to discover that city budgets depended heavily on wealthy investors connected to questionable businesses. Honest council members, proposing investigations into organized crime, sometimes found themselves surrounded by political scandals, suddenly appearing in newspapers. Staff members leaked information. Private mistakes became public embarrassments. Allies disappeared quietly. Gotham's political system rewarded obedience far more often than courage. Blackmail became one of the city's most powerful tools. Because Gotham's elite understood something deeply important about human weakness, namely that almost everyone carries secrets capable of destroying them under the right pressure. Politicians hiding personal scandals, judges protecting reputations, police commanders fearing public disgrace, and businessmen desperate to avoid financial ruin, all became vulnerable. Once damaging information entered the hands of powerful people skilled at manipulation. In Gotham, secrets often mattered more than laws. A single hidden photograph, private financial document, or confidential conversation could control careers more effectively than direct violence ever could. People obeyed, not always because they wanted money, but because they feared losing status, reputation, family stability, or personal safety if the truth emerged publicly. This fear spread through Gotham's institutions, like invisible chains holding countless individuals in place. The courts suffered from this corruption as deeply as every other part of the system. Judges accepted political pressure quietly. Important cases disappeared beneath technical errors and procedural delays. Wealthy defendants hired expensive legal teams capable of turning obvious guilt into endless courtroom confusion, while poorer citizens often received harsh punishment without resources to defend themselves properly. Prosecutors pursuing organized crime sometimes found witnesses unwilling to testify after receiving threats or bribes. Jury members feared retaliation. Evidence vanished mysteriously from police storage rooms. Justice inside Gotham often depended less on truth and more on influence. Ordinary citizens slowly realized this reality through experience. Wealthy businessmen connected to elite families escaped consequences for crimes that would destroy ordinary people completely. Corrupt officials resigned quietly instead of facing prison. Criminal organizations continued operating despite endless arrests because deeper financial systems supporting them remained untouched. Gotham's institutions appeared designed to punish visible disorder while protecting the structures creating that disorder from above. Even the business world became deeply connected to this corruption. Construction companies bribed officials for contracts. Developers purchased entire neighborhoods through political influence, while forcing poorer residents out through rising costs and neglect. Corporate leaders maintained private relationships with organized crime figures when profitable opportunities required cooperation. Banks quietly protected questionable transactions, benefiting powerful clients. News organizations controlled by wealthy owners shaped public narratives carefully to avoid damaging important interests connected to Gotham's upper class. The city's economy itself became tangled with corruption so completely that separating legal business from criminal influence grew increasingly difficult. Factories operated using unsafe conditions because inspectors received payments to ignore violations. Shipping companies moved illegal goods through Gotham's ports under protection from corrupt officials. Real estate projects displaced struggling communities, while politicians praised economic progress during public speeches. Money moved constantly through Gotham, like dark water flowing beneath the streets, connecting institutions that publicly pretended to stand apart from one another. And through all of this, honest people continued trying to resist. There were police officers who refused bribes despite threats against them. journalists risking careers to expose corruption, judges attempting fair rulings despite enormous pressure, political staff members leaking information because their conscience could no longer tolerate silence. Gotham always produced individuals brave enough to challenge the system, but the system rarely allowed them to survive comfortably for long. Some lost careers after exposing the wrong people. Others suffered public scandals carefully arranged to destroy credibility. A few disappeared from important investigations entirely. Honest officials often became exhausted because fighting Gotham's corruption felt less like battling individual criminals and more like struggling against an entire environment designed to protect itself endlessly. That was perhaps the city's most disturbing quality. Corruption inside Gotham no longer behaved like separate crimes committed by isolated individuals. Instead, it functioned almost like a living structure, connecting police departments, political offices, financial systems, criminal networks, and elite families together through shared interests built around preserving power. People inside the system understood this, even if they rarely spoke about it directly. A corrupt officer protected certain criminals because politicians benefited financially from those criminal operations. Politicians protected wealthy donors because business investments funded campaigns and controlled media influence. Judges avoided challenging elite interests because personal careers depended on political support. Business leaders maintained quiet relationships with organized crime because illegal profits strengthened corporate power. Each piece protected the others, creating a system difficult to attack without triggering pressure from multiple directions at once. And ordinary citizens stood beneath all of it. Families living in dangerous neighborhoods called police officers they did not fully trust. Workers paid taxes, supporting institutions already compromised by corruption. Victims waited for justice inside courts, shaped by money and influence. Honest people continued, hoping reform might eventually arrive, even while the city repeatedly disappointed them year after year. The tragedy of Gotham was not simply that corruption existed, because corruption exists in many places. The tragedy was how deeply the city normalized it, until many citizens stopped believing true justice was possible anymore. Children growing up in Gotham learned early that powerful people followed different rules than everyone else. Teenagers watched politicians promise change before disappearing into scandals. Small business owners paid protection money because official systems failed to protect them properly. Entire communities became trapped in cycles where fear and hopelessness reinforced each other generation after generation. And somewhere above all these institutions lingered the unsettling possibility that Gotham's corruption served larger hidden interests beyond ordinary greed alone. Because the city's systems often behaved less like broken structures needing repair and more like carefully controlled mechanisms protecting certain people from accountability at every level. Investigations stopped at invisible boundaries. Political reforms weakened quietly before creating real change. Criminal organizations survived despite endless public crackdowns. Wealth and influence remained concentrated within the same circles generation after generation. This created a terrifying question beneath Gotham's endless scandals and violence. What if the institutions were never truly designed to protect justice in the first place? What if Gotham's police departments, courts, political offices, and financial systems existed mainly to preserve existing power structures while giving ordinary citizens the appearance of order? What if corruption survived not because the city failed to stop it, but because powerful interests quietly benefited from keeping Gotham exactly as it was? The deeper one looked into Gotham's systems, the harder those questions became to ignore. Because despite countless speeches about reform, despite arrests, elections, investigations, and public outrage, the city's deeper structure always remained standing, untouched and patient beneath the chaos above it. Gotham changed faces constantly while preserving the same invisible balance underneath, like an enormous machine endlessly repairing itself whenever anyone threatened its most important parts. And perhaps that was why fear remained so powerful there, not because Gotham lacked laws, but because too many people suspected the laws answered to something far older and far stronger than justice itself: organized crime and the old mafia. Long before costumed criminals turned Gotham City into a place of theatrical chaos and psychological terror, the city already belonged to another kind of darkness, one far quieter and far more organized, because before masked villains ever appeared in headlines, Gotham's streets were controlled by old mafia families whose influence spread through restaurants, shipping docks, gambling houses, political offices, construction companies, and police departments so deeply that many citizens barely understood where legal business ended and organized crime began. The violence during those years did not arrive wearing painted smiles or elaborate costumes. It arrived through whispers inside expensive restaurants, through envelopes passed beneath tables, through black cars moving silently through rainy streets, while powerful men decided which neighborhoods would prosper and which would suffer. At the center of this hidden world stood families like the Falcone family and the Maroni family, criminal empires whose names became deeply connected to Gotham's identity long before the city's later age of masked madness began. These organizations did not simply commit crimes. They built systems. They created networks capable of influencing nearly every important part of Gotham through money, fear, loyalty, and corruption spread carefully across generations. The Falcones, especially under the rule of figures like Carmine Falcone, represented the old style of Gotham crime, disciplined, patient, and deeply connected to the city's political and financial structures. Carmine was not the kind of criminal who sought public attention or chaos. He operated more like a businessman hidden behind the image of a mafia boss, understanding that real power came not from loud violence, but from quiet control over systems ordinary citizens depended on every day. His influence reached across Gotham like roots spreading beneath the ground. Restaurants, trucking companies, waste management operations, shipping businesses, labor unions, gambling networks, and political offices all became connected through invisible arrangements benefiting the Falcone empire. Some businesses worked willingly beside organized crime because the money involved became impossible to ignore. Others cooperated because refusing carried consequences too dangerous to risk. This was how Gotham's mafia families became part of the city itself. They did not hide far away from public life. Instead, they moved directly beside it, attending charity events, funding political campaigns, and maintaining relationships with wealthy businessmen who publicly condemned crime while privately benefiting from mafia-controlled industries. Organized crime inside Gotham rarely behaved like a separate world existing outside the law. It functioned more like a shadow version of the city's official systems, mirroring them while secretly influencing them from underneath. The Maronis operated similarly, though often with a harsher and more openly aggressive reputation. Where the Falcones preferred calculated influence, the Maronis became known for direct intimidation, violent enforcement, and expanding criminal operations through fear. Yet despite differences in style, both organizations understood the same truth about Gotham. Controlling the city required more than guns and street violence alone. Real power depended on political protection, police cooperation, legal influence, and financial connections, reaching far beyond ordinary criminal activity. And Gotham already provided the perfect environment for such empires to grow. The city's enormous inequality created desperation inside poorer districts, where illegal businesses often offered faster survival than legitimate work. Corrupt officials protected criminal operations in exchange for money. Wealthy elites quietly invested in industries connected indirectly to organized crime because profits remained enormous. Entire sections of Gotham's economy slowly became dependent on systems touched by mafia influence in some form. Shipping docks allowed illegal goods into the city. Construction companies tied to criminal families received government contracts. Gambling operations generated money flowing into political campaigns. Loan sharks trapped struggling families beneath endless debt, while corrupt officers ignored complaints. Gotham's criminal empires spread carefully through the city's economic structure until removing them completely would have damaged entire industries along with them. This made the mafia far more dangerous than ordinary gangs, because the Falcones and Maronis were not simply criminals hiding from society. In many ways, they became respected parts of Gotham's power structure. Politicians attended dinners beside businessmen secretly connected to organized crime. Wealthy investors made quiet arrangements with mafia-controlled unions. Judges received favors. Police commanders maintained unofficial agreements designed to keep violence controlled rather than eliminated completely. And that word mattered deeply inside Gotham: controlled. The city's old mafia families understood something important about power that many later villains would not. Chaos threatened business. Public panic attracted attention. Unpredictable violence damaged profits and weakened political relationships. The Falcones especially preferred order, even if that order rested upon fear and corruption, because stable systems allowed organized crime to operate more efficiently beside Gotham's official institutions. To ordinary citizens, this created a disturbing kind of normality. People living in Gotham during those years often knew which restaurants belonged to organized crime. They understood which neighborhoods answered to certain families. Small business owners paid protection money almost automatically because refusing felt pointless. Police officers ignored specific operations because challenging them created problems extending far beyond simple arrests. Corruption became so familiar that many citizens stopped expecting genuine justice entirely. Children grew up hearing stories about powerful mob bosses, the same way other cities discussed politicians or celebrities. Names like Falcone carried influence strong enough to shape everyday behavior throughout Gotham. Taxi drivers avoided speaking openly about certain people. Restaurant owners offered private rooms for secret meetings without asking questions. Journalists carefully considered which investigations might create consequences too dangerous to pursue fully. Organized crime became woven into Gotham's culture so completely that many citizens no longer viewed it as abnormal. And perhaps the most unsettling truth was how quietly Gotham's elite accepted all of this. Wealthy businessmen publicly condemned violence while maintaining profitable partnerships with companies tied indirectly to mafia operations. Political leaders promised stronger anti-crime policies during speeches while receiving campaign support from figures connected to organized criminal networks. Police departments arrested low-level criminals while protecting larger systems through corruption, fear, or strategic silence. The relationship between Gotham's upper class and organized crime rarely appeared simple or direct. Instead, it resembled an invisible arrangement where both sides benefited from maintaining stability. The mafia controlled violence within certain limits, while political and business elites ensured law enforcement pressure never became strong enough to destroy the deeper financial systems supporting organized crime completely. This balance helped Gotham function outwardly, despite the corruption consuming it underneath. The city continued building skyscrapers, hosting charity events, expanding businesses, and presenting itself publicly as a modern urban center, while criminal empires quietly shaped enormous sections of daily life behind the scenes. Tourists visiting Gotham might never fully understand how deeply organized crime influenced the city, because the corruption operated beneath polished surfaces where wealthy districts still appeared elegant and successful. Yet ordinary citizens, living closer to Gotham's harsher realities, understood the truth much more clearly. They saw criminal influence controlling jobs, housing, transportation, gambling, and neighborhood safety. They understood that certain police officers answered more quickly to mafia-connected businessmen than to frightened residents needing help. They watched politicians speak about reform during daytime press conferences before attending private dinners with powerful figures later that same evening. Over time, this constant exposure changed how Gotham viewed morality itself. The lines separating lawful authority from organized crime became increasingly difficult to identify. Some mafia figures funded local charities and protected neighborhoods from worse violence, while city officials ignored suffering completely. Certain criminals appeared more reliable than corrupt politicians. Some citizens even viewed mafia-controlled districts as safer than areas abandoned entirely by official institutions. This moral confusion became part of Gotham's identity long before supervillains ever arrived. The city normalized corruption through repetition until bribery, intimidation, and criminal influence stopped shocking people. Gotham's citizens adapted emotionally because constant outrage exhausted them after enough years passed without meaningful change. Survival mattered more than idealism. Families focused on protecting themselves rather than challenging systems too powerful to fight openly, and beneath everything lingered fear. Not always dramatic fear involving gunfire or murder, but quieter fear shaping daily decisions constantly. Fear of angering the wrong people. Fear of losing jobs connected indirectly to organized crime. Fear of speaking too openly around police officers who might already work for criminal families. Fear of becoming visible inside a city where powerful systems punished weakness quickly. The mafia thrived inside that atmosphere because fear created obedience more effectively than violence alone ever could. A shop owner paid protection money, not necessarily because threats were spoken directly, but because everyone already understood what happened to people refusing cooperation. Witnesses stayed silent because Gotham's criminal families possessed long memories and enormous influence. Honest officials learned caution because pushing too aggressively against organized crime often resulted in destroyed careers or dead informants before trials could begin. And still the city kept functioning. Subways carried workers across Gotham each morning. Wealthy elites attended galas beside politicians. Construction projects expanded the skyline. Newspapers reported crime statistics while avoiding deeper questions about systemic corruption. Gotham continued moving forward, while organized crime quietly shaped enormous portions of its economic and political reality underneath. This created the perfect environment for even darker forces later. Because by the time masked villains eventually emerged, Gotham had already spent generations teaching its citizens to accept corruption as ordinary. The city already understood fear, compromised institutions, and hidden power structures long before theatrical criminals transformed Gotham into something even more unstable. In many ways, the old mafia families prepared Gotham psychologically for the nightmares still waiting in its future. They taught the city that laws could be bought, that powerful people escaped punishment, and that violence often protected wealth more effectively than justice protected innocence. They showed how criminal influence could merge seamlessly with politics, business, and social power, until corruption became nearly invisible through familiarity alone. And perhaps that was the greatest tragedy of Gotham's old mafia era. Not simply the crimes committed, but how completely organized corruption embedded itself into the city's foundation, while ordinary citizens slowly adjusted to living beside it. Gotham did not suddenly fall into darkness one terrible night. It drifted there gradually through years of compromise, silence, fear, and quiet agreements made between powerful people benefiting from systems ordinary citizens could barely see clearly anymore. By the time stranger horrors eventually arrived, Gotham's soul had already been wounded deeply for generations. The masks simply came later. The rise of Batman. For many years, the people of Gotham City believed the city's darkness would simply continue forever, repeating the same cycle of corruption, violence, fear, and hidden power, generation after generation, without anyone truly capable of stopping it. Politicians made promises that dissolved into scandal. Police departments struggled beneath internal corruption. Organized crime adapted faster than law enforcement could respond. Wealthy elites protected themselves behind towers and private estates, while ordinary citizens learned to survive inside a city that often seemed to reward cruelty more than goodness. Gotham had become a place where many people no longer believed heroes could exist in real life. And then came Bruce Wayne. At first glance, Bruce appeared to belong perfectly within Gotham's upper class, because he inherited one of the city's oldest and wealthiest family names, surrounded by enormous privilege, vast financial resources, and public admiration connected to the legacy of the Wayne family. Newspapers described him as the son of respected philanthropists. Business leaders viewed him as the future of Wayne Enterprises. Gotham society expected him to continue the familiar role wealthy heirs often played inside the city, maintaining the family reputation while enjoying the protections that money and influence provided. But Gotham had already wounded Bruce long before he became a man. The murder of his parents transformed more than his childhood. It changed the way he understood the city itself. On the surface, the crime looked painfully ordinary by Gotham standards, another act of street violence inside a city already drowning in fear. Yet for Bruce, the experience shattered the illusion that wealth, kindness, or public respectability could truly protect anyone from Gotham's darkness. One moment his parents stood beside him alive beneath the city lights, and the next they were gone forever because of a single violent encounter inside an alleyway most people would forget within days. For many children, such trauma might have created only grief and fear, but inside Bruce something else slowly formed alongside the pain. Obsession. Not obsession with revenge alone, though anger certainly lived within him for years, but obsession with understanding why Gotham remained trapped in endless suffering despite its enormous wealth, powerful institutions, and public promises about justice. Bruce grew older, surrounded by the city's elite world, attending formal events, listening to business conversations, observing politicians, executives, lawyers, and social leaders moving through luxurious environments far removed from the violence affecting ordinary neighborhoods. Yet even from inside that privileged world, he could feel how fragile Gotham truly was beneath the surface. The city did not feel healthy to him. It felt infected, and Bruce eventually reached a conclusion that would shape the rest of his life, namely, that Gotham's institutions alone could never save the city, because too many of those institutions were already compromised by corruption, fear, and hidden influence. The police could be bribed, politicians could be controlled, courts could be manipulated. Organized crime had already woven itself deeply into Gotham's economy and political structure. Simply trusting the system to repair itself no longer seemed possible. So Bruce decided to become something outside the system entirely. His years away from Gotham became part training and part investigation into human weakness itself. He studied criminal psychology, forensic science, martial arts, escape techniques, surveillance methods, and countless other skills, not because he wanted personal glory, but because he believed Gotham required someone capable of fighting threats ordinary institutions could not handle. He traveled through dangerous places, learned from detectives, fighters, scholars, and survivors, slowly transforming himself into someone far more disciplined and dangerous than the frightened child left alone in Crime Alley years earlier. Yet even then, Bruce understood one important truth about Gotham. Criminals already feared prison, police sirens, and rival gangs, yet crime continued spreading endlessly. Fear alone did not disappear simply because laws existed. Gotham's criminals had grown comfortable operating inside corruption because they believed nobody could truly stop them. Bruce wanted to change that belief completely. That was why the symbol mattered. When Bruce eventually became Batman, he did not choose the identity randomly. He understood that Gotham functioned psychologically as much as physically. Fear shaped the city's behavior constantly, controlling citizens, empowering criminals, protecting corrupt officials, and maintaining silence throughout every level of society. If fear already ruled Gotham, then Bruce decided fear itself could become a weapon turned against the people creating the city's suffering. Batman was designed to feel unnatural, a dark figure appearing silently across rooftops, a creature emerging from shadows where ordinary criminals expected safety, something difficult to predict and impossible to intimidate easily. Bruce wanted Gotham's criminals to feel hunted the same way ordinary citizens had felt hunted for generations. And for a time, It worked. Street criminals became nervous. Corrupt officials feared exposure. Organized crime leaders realized someone dangerous had entered Gotham, operating outside traditional systems they already controlled. Batman's investigations uncovered hidden financial networks, corrupt police operations, illegal business arrangements, and criminal organizations protected for years by bribery and political influence. He moved through Gotham's underworld like a force refusing compromise, gathering evidence while using intimidation and relentless pressure to destabilize systems previously protected by fear and silence. To many ordinary citizens, Batman began feeling almost mythical. Some people believed he was a ghost. Others claimed he was some kind of supernatural punishment descending upon Gotham's criminals. Police officers argued about whether he represented justice or vigilantism. Criminals spread stories exaggerating his abilities because fear distorted reality inside Gotham quickly once rumors started growing. But beneath the mask, Bruce remained something very human. A man desperately trying to force meaning onto a city that often seemed determined to destroy itself. And as Batman's investigations deepened, Bruce slowly discovered something unsettling. Gotham's corruption reached even further than he originally imagined. At first, Batman believed organized crime and political corruption represented the city's central sickness. But the deeper he looked into Gotham's history, the stranger the patterns became. Certain powerful families appeared repeatedly across generations, connected to major political shifts, economic developments, and unexplained historical events. Hidden symbols surfaced inside old architecture. Secret tunnels crossed beneath sections of the city untouched for decades. Historical records vanished mysteriously whenever investigations approached specific subjects too closely. The city seemed to contain layers beneath layers. Batman realized Gotham's darkness was not simply random violence or ordinary corruption. It possessed structure, memory, and hidden continuity, stretching backward across generations long before his birth. The deeper Bruce investigated, the more often he encountered references to whispered legends, secret organizations, and invisible powers influencing Gotham from beyond public view. This challenged him deeply because Bruce Wayne had grown up believing he understood Gotham better than almost anyone else. After all, he came from one of the city's oldest bloodlines. His family helped build hospitals, businesses, and public institutions across Gotham. Wayne Manor itself stood connected to the city's history, reaching back generations. Yet despite all this, Batman slowly realized he remained strangely blind to many of Gotham's oldest secrets. That realization disturbed him more than physical danger ever could. Because Bruce understood crime, he understood corruption, greed, fear, and violence. Those things, while terrible, still followed understandable human patterns. But Gotham's hidden conspiracies suggested something older, operating beneath the visible chaos, something patient enough to shape the city slowly over centuries, while remaining almost invisible. And perhaps most frightening of all, Bruce could not fully trust his own family's history anymore. The deeper Batman investigated Gotham's elite circles, the more uncomfortable questions emerged about how much the city's oldest families truly knew. Had the Waynes unknowingly benefited from systems tied to Gotham's hidden corruption? Were respected institutions built beside darker structures operating quietly underneath? Could even good people become connected to evil simply by surviving long enough inside Gotham's power networks? Bruce carried these questions constantly while continuing his mission. To Gotham's citizens, Batman became both guardian and warning, a figure standing between ordinary people and the city's endless violence. Yet Batman himself often felt isolated from the very city he protected because Gotham's deepest truths remained hidden even from him. He moved through rooftops, underground passages, abandoned buildings, and corrupted institutions, searching endlessly for answers. But Gotham always seemed capable of revealing another layer beneath the last one. This made Batman different from traditional heroes. He was not fighting a single enemy or chasing one final victory waiting somewhere ahead. Instead, he was battling an environment shaped by generations of corruption, fear, inherited power, and hidden influence woven directly into the city's identity. Gotham itself became his greatest mystery. And despite everything Bruce sacrificed, despite years of training, wealth, technology, and relentless investigation, Gotham never fully accepted him as one of its true hidden rulers. That irony remained deeply important. Bruce Wayne belonged to Gotham's elite world through birth, yet Batman operated outside the city's ancient systems of power entirely. He protected Gotham without fully understanding all the forces shaping it. The city needed him desperately while also resisting him constantly, almost like an organism defending secrets buried deep within itself. Some of Gotham's oldest powers even viewed Batman as an intruder rather than a savior. Because unlike corrupt politicians or organized crime figures who could be controlled through money, fear, or compromise, Batman represented unpredictability. He asked dangerous questions. He uncovered hidden patterns. He refused to accept the city's corruption as normal. Most importantly, he challenged the idea that Gotham belonged only to its old systems of inherited power. Yet even Batman could not fully escape Gotham's influence. The city shaped him just as surely as it shaped criminals, politicians, and wealthy elites. His obsession grew stronger with every year spent beneath Gotham's endless night skies. His loneliness deepened beside the mission consuming his life. The line between protector and prisoner sometimes blurred because Bruce dedicated everything he had to fighting a city that never truly healed, no matter how hard he struggled to save it. And still he continued. Night after night, Batman moved through the darkness, while rain covered Gotham's streets below, searching for truth inside a city built upon secrets older than himself, trying desperately to protect innocent people, while confronting the terrifying possibility that Gotham's deepest corruption might reach far beyond anything one man, no matter how determined, could ever fully defeat alone. Arkham Asylum and manufactured madness. There are many places inside Gotham City that citizens fear after dark, places filled with violence, corruption, or memories too painful to forget. Yet few locations carry the same unsettling weight as Arkham Asylum, because Arkham is more than a hospital standing behind locked gates and cold stone walls. Over time, it became something larger inside Gotham's imagination, a symbol of the city's broken mind itself, a place where fear, trauma, madness, and suffering gather endlessly without ever truly disappearing. To many citizens, Arkham feels less like a building designed to heal people and more like a reflection of Gotham's deepest wounds, trapped inside one enormous structure, watching over the city from the shadows. The asylum stands apart from ordinary hospitals immediately. Even from a distance, Arkham appears heavy with history, its towering architecture resembling an old fortress more than a medical institution meant for recovery. Long corridors stretch beneath dim lights, while iron doors close with sounds echoing through the halls like prison gates. Rain often covers the surrounding grounds, and fog drifting across the property makes the building appear isolated from the rest of Gotham, as though the city itself pushed the asylum away, while still remaining deeply connected to it. Officially, Arkham exists to treat the criminally insane, housing dangerous individuals whose psychological conditions place them outside ordinary prison systems. Doctors, psychiatrists, guards, and administrators all speak publicly about rehabilitation, treatment, and recovery. Gotham's leaders describe Arkham as necessary for public safety and mental health care within a city already overwhelmed by violence. Yet almost nobody truly believes Arkham heals people anymore. The asylum developed a terrifying reputation across generations because patients rarely seemed to leave healthier than before entering. Escapes happened repeatedly. Staff corruption surfaced constantly. Experiments crossed ethical boundaries. Violence spread through the institution itself with disturbing regularity. Some doctors became obsessed with studying their patients rather than helping them recover, while others slowly lost their own stability after years spent inside the asylum's endless atmosphere of fear and psychological decay. Over time, Arkham stopped feeling like a solution to Gotham's madness and began feeling more like proof that the city could no longer control the darkness growing within itself. And perhaps the most disturbing question surrounding Arkham was whether Gotham naturally produced so much psychological collapse, or whether deeper forces inside the city quietly benefited from keeping chaos alive. Because Gotham created an unusual number of broken people, the city seemed to generate trauma constantly through poverty, violence, corruption, family loss, fear, and social isolation spreading across generations. Children grew up surrounded by danger. Families lost loved ones to crime. Honest citizens watched institutions fail repeatedly. Entire neighborhoods carried emotional scars from decades of neglect and violence. Gotham's environment itself placed enormous psychological pressure on the people forced to survive within it. Many criminals later sent to Arkham shared similar beginnings. Abuse, abandonment, humiliation, grief, betrayal, and fear appeared again and again throughout their histories. Gotham rarely created monsters from nothing. More often, it slowly damaged vulnerable people until their pain transformed into obsession, violence, or psychological collapse. Some individuals broke beneath the pressure completely, while others redirected their suffering outward toward the city itself. This repetition became impossible to ignore. Again and again, Gotham produced damaged people, shaped by trauma, before eventually returning them to Arkham, where the cycle continued endlessly. The asylum became less like a place interrupting violence and more like one stage within a larger pattern. Gotham seemed unable or unwilling to escape, and still the city kept functioning around it. Politicians held press conferences, promising stronger security after every escape. Wealthy donors funded temporary improvements. Newspapers covered shocking incidents before public attention drifted elsewhere again. Yet beneath these visible reactions lingered an uncomfortable possibility that some powerful groups inside Gotham may not truly want the cycle to end completely. Because chaos can benefit certain people, a frightened population becomes easier to control politically. Corruption hides more easily inside unstable environments, where citizens focus on survival rather than accountability. Wealthy elites profit from private security, reconstruction contracts, medical industries, and political influence during times of fear. Criminal organizations expand more easily when public trust in institutions collapses. And Arkham itself became strangely useful to Gotham's larger systems. The asylum gathered dangerous individuals into one isolated location, while also allowing deeper questions about the city's failures to remain unanswered. Instead of confronting how Gotham repeatedly created broken people through trauma, inequality, corruption, and violence, society often labeled individuals simply insane and locked them away behind Arkham's walls. This allowed Gotham to treat madness like an isolated problem, rather than a symptom of something much larger. Yet Arkham constantly exposed the truth despite those efforts. Because the asylum did not exist separately from Gotham, it reflected Gotham. The institution absorbed the city's fears, violence, corruption, and instability, until the building itself almost seemed infected by the psychological damage surrounding it. Guards became brutal. Doctors crossed moral boundaries. Patients manipulated one another endlessly. Escapes triggered panic throughout Gotham, because citizens understood that Arkham's chaos never truly remained contained inside its walls for long. Even the architecture of the asylum contributed to this feeling. Dark hallways, narrow passages, old stone chambers, underground wings, barred windows, and heavy doors created an environment feeling more oppressive than therapeutic. Some sections of Arkham appeared ancient compared to the modern world outside, as though parts of the building belonged to another century entirely. The atmosphere itself seemed capable of wearing down people emotionally over time. Many staff members eventually described feeling trapped psychologically after years working there. Sleep problems, paranoia, anxiety, emotional exhaustion, and moral numbness spread through employees responsible for maintaining order inside the institution. Doctors trying to understand dangerous minds sometimes became obsessed with them instead. Guards surrounded constantly by violence slowly lost empathy. Arkham changed people simply by keeping them close to Gotham's worst suffering day after day. And then there were the patients themselves. Some criminals inside Arkham embraced madness openly because insanity offered freedom from guilt, social rules, and ordinary morality. Others seemed trapped inside psychological pain too severe to escape. A few manipulated the system expertly, pretending instability when useful, while remaining dangerously intelligent beneath the surface. Yet despite their differences, many shared one important truth: Gotham helped create them. That reality deeply disturbed people like Batman, because every criminal sent into Arkham represented another reminder that Gotham's problems extended far beyond simple law enforcement. The city itself appeared psychologically sick, producing fear and trauma faster than any institution could repair the damage. And still, the cycle repeated endlessly. Violence created trauma, trauma created instability, instability fueled more violence. Children witnessing fear grew into adults carrying emotional scars, shaping future generations. Gotham passed pain downward through families and communities like inheritance, impossible to fully escape. Some citizens eventually began wondering whether Arkham existed partly to preserve this cycle rather than break it. Because despite endless public discussions about reform, the asylum rarely changed in meaningful ways. Corruption investigations disappeared quietly. Dangerous experiments continued beneath different leadership. Security failures repeated constantly. Wealthy donors funded projects producing little lasting improvement. Gotham's institutions seemed strangely comfortable, managing madness without ever truly addressing its deeper causes. That pattern raised unsettling questions. If Gotham's instability truly threatened powerful interests, why did meaningful solutions remain so difficult to achieve? Why did corruption survive every scandal? Why did dangerous individuals repeatedly escape environments supposedly designed to contain them? Why did the city continue producing psychological collapse generation after generation, despite enormous resources theoretically available to help? Some observers believed the answer rested inside Gotham's hidden power structures. Fearful populations rarely challenge authority effectively. Corrupt institutions benefit from chaos, distracting public attention. Wealthy elites remain protected, while poorer communities absorb the worst violence repeatedly. Criminal organizations profit from instability. Politicians gain support through promises of security during crises they never fully resolve. In this view, Gotham's madness became economically and politically useful. Arkham therefore represented something terrifying beyond mental illness alone. It became proof that Gotham's suffering might serve larger systems benefiting from endless instability. Every escape, every public panic, every violent outbreak reinforced fear throughout the city, while hidden structures of power remained untouched behind the scenes. And perhaps the most tragic part was how normal all of this eventually became. Citizens adapted emotionally because Gotham demanded adaptation for survival. Children grew up hearing about Arkham the way other cities discussed weather reports or traffic accidents. Escapes no longer shocked people for long. Violence inside the asylum blended into Gotham's larger atmosphere of fear almost naturally. The city learned to live beside madness instead of curing it. That normalization changed Gotham deeply over time. Ordinary people became emotionally exhausted. Public trust weakened further. Compassion faded beneath constant exposure to suffering. Gotham's citizens slowly accepted that certain problems would never truly disappear, no matter how many politicians promised reform or how many dangerous criminals were locked behind Arkham's walls. And somewhere within the asylum itself, behind locked doors and dimly lit corridors, the city's deepest psychological truth waited quietly. Gotham was not simply fighting isolated villains or random violence. It was fighting generations of accumulated trauma, fear, corruption, grief, and instability woven directly into its identity. Arkham stood as physical proof of that damage, holding countless broken minds created by a city that seemed incapable of protecting its people without harming them at the same time. The asylum became Gotham's mirror, and the longer someone stared into that mirror, the harder it became to decide whether the city's madness was truly accidental, or whether unseen forces had learned long ago that fear and instability could be controlled, shaped, and quietly used to maintain power while Gotham slowly consumed itself from within. The architecture of secrecy. Most cities are built to help people move more easily through daily life, with roads connecting neighborhoods, bridges linking districts, and transportation systems carrying workers between home and business. Yet Gotham City often feels as though it was designed for an entirely different purpose, because beneath its towering skyline and crowded streets exists another hidden version of the city, stretching downward through darkness, silence, and forgotten spaces, untouched by ordinary citizens for decades. Gotham does not simply contain secrets. The city appears physically constructed to protect them. From above, Gotham already looks complicated enough, with its endless towers, narrow alleyways, overlapping highways, industrial districts, old cathedrals, abandoned factories, and massive bridges disappearing into fog beside black rivers. Yet the deeper someone explores the city, the more unsettling its design becomes, because Gotham was built across generations by powerful families, corrupt officials, industrial architects, criminal organizations, and hidden groups whose interests rarely centered around openness or honesty. The result is a city layered upon itself like a maze that never fully reveals its shape. Beneath the streets run underground tunnels older than many of Gotham's modern buildings, passageways first used during earlier periods of industrial expansion when transportation systems stretched rapidly through the growing city. Some tunnels once carried freight trains moving coal, steel, machinery, and factory supplies beneath crowded districts above. Others connected private estates, government buildings, or hidden service routes created long before modern oversight existed. Many of these systems were eventually abandoned officially, yet abandoned inside Gotham rarely means empty. Workers repairing sewer lines occasionally discovered sealed doors hidden behind concrete walls. Construction crews uncovered forgotten rail platforms buried beneath modern subway stations. Homeless citizens surviving below the streets described entire underground sections of Gotham where old tracks still stretched endlessly into darkness without appearing on any public maps. Some tunnels flooded partially over time, while others remained strangely preserved, untouched, and dry, despite decades supposedly passing without maintenance. The city's underground spaces developed their own mythology because no single person ever seemed to understand how extensive the hidden systems truly were. Maps often contradicted each other. Certain entrances appeared in historical records before disappearing completely from modern documents. Some passages connected directly beneath old government buildings or wealthy estates in ways difficult to explain publicly. Gotham's deeper architecture felt fragmented deliberately, almost as though sections were meant to remain secret from ordinary citizens. And the further these discoveries spread, the stronger the unsettling question became. Who benefited from building Gotham this way? The answer, many feared, pointed once again toward the Court of Owls and the powerful elite circles connected to Gotham's oldest hidden structures. According to the darkest stories surrounding the court, Gotham's architecture itself served as part of their control over the city, allowing movement, surveillance, and secrecy across generations without public awareness. At first, this idea sounded impossible, yet Gotham constantly produced details making impossible things feel disturbingly believable. Historians researching ancient blueprints sometimes discovered strange inconsistencies within Gotham's oldest buildings. Hidden chambers appeared behind walls where no rooms should logically exist. Certain theaters, courthouses, mansions, and office towers contained unusual passageways, accessible only through concealed mechanisms forgotten by most people alive. Some old buildings even featured owl imagery carved subtly into decorative designs, so high above eye level that ordinary visitors never noticed them. Individually, these details meant little. Together, they created the impression of a city filled with hidden observation points, secret movement routes, and spaces designed not for public use but for unseen watchers moving quietly through Gotham while remaining invisible. The Court of Owls supposedly understood Gotham's structure better than anyone else alive. That knowledge became a weapon. According to the legends, the court could move through the city without being detected because hidden routes connected locations ordinary citizens believed completely separate. Talons could appear unexpectedly because secret entrances existed inside buildings no outsider fully understood. Meetings could occur beneath Gotham while the city above continued functioning normally, completely unaware of what happened underneath. This transformed Gotham itself into something deeply unsettling. The city no longer felt like a neutral environment where crimes happened randomly. Instead, Gotham began resembling a carefully layered system designed by generations of powerful people who understood how architecture could shape fear, movement, and control. Even above ground, Gotham's design reflected this atmosphere of secrecy. Narrow alleyways blocked visibility. Gargoyles and statues stared downward from impossible heights. Massive buildings created shadows swallowing entire streets after sunset. Rooftops connected through old maintenance bridges and hidden access paths. Wealthy districts used gates, walls, and private roads to separate themselves physically from poorer neighborhoods. Gotham's layout encouraged isolation and confusion rather than openness. Many citizens spent their entire lives inside the city without fully understanding how little of Gotham they had actually seen. This uncertainty created psychological fear alongside physical danger. People already struggled trusting Gotham's institutions. Yet now, the city itself seemed untrustworthy too. Behind any wall might exist another hidden room. Beneath any building might stretch forgotten tunnels leading somewhere unknown. Entire sections of Gotham appeared capable of hiding secrets indefinitely, simply because the city's structure grew too large and too complicated for ordinary people to fully explore. And perhaps that complexity was intentional from the beginning. The Court of Owls supposedly thrived inside environments where confusion protected power. A maze benefits those who already know the path. Gotham's architecture, therefore, became more than scenery surrounding corruption and violence. It became part of the mechanism, allowing hidden systems to survive. Some stories described private observation chambers, concealed inside old buildings, where unseen figures could supposedly monitor gatherings below without being detected. Other rumors spoke about hidden routes connecting elite social clubs to underground networks beneath Gotham's oldest districts. Certain abandoned subway stations allegedly served secret purposes long after public transportation stopped using them officially. Whether every story was true mattered less than the atmosphere these stories created. Because once citizens began viewing Gotham as physically designed for secrecy, the city itself transformed psychologically. Ordinary architecture no longer looked ordinary. Staircases, tunnels, elevators, maintenance doors, and historical landmarks all became potential hiding places connected to larger mysteries beneath the surface. Even police investigations became more difficult because Gotham constantly concealed evidence within its enormous layered structure. Criminals escaped through forgotten tunnels. Illegal operations hid inside abandoned industrial spaces, unreachable from normal streets. Corrupt meetings occurred in private chambers, hidden behind respectable public buildings. Witnesses disappeared into sections of Gotham. Ordinary patrol officers rarely entered safely. The city protected secrets naturally through sheer complexity. And nowhere did this affect Batman more deeply than during his investigations into Gotham's oldest conspiracies. Bruce Wayne initially believed years of training and research had given him unmatched knowledge of Gotham's structure. Yet the deeper he explored the city's hidden spaces, the more often he discovered entire sections unknown even to him. That realization disturbed Batman profoundly, because if someone as obsessive and intelligent as Bruce Wayne could remain blind to huge parts of Gotham's hidden design, then what else might still remain concealed beneath the city after centuries of secrecy? The court exploited this uncertainty masterfully. According to various stories, they used Gotham's architecture not simply to hide themselves, but to disorient enemies psychologically. Hidden labyrinths beneath the city created confusion strong enough to break even experienced investigators. Secret chambers isolated intruders from normal reality. Repeating hallways, misleading paths, and underground mazes turned Gotham itself into a trap against anyone searching too aggressively for hidden truths. The city became an extension of the court's control, and perhaps the most frightening aspect of Gotham's design was how naturally it encouraged surveillance. Old towers overlooked entire districts. Hidden observation points existed within ancient structures. Wealthy estates occupied elevated positions above poorer neighborhoods. Narrow streets allowed movement to be monitored easily from rooftops and windows above. Gotham constantly created the sensation of being watched, even when nobody could clearly identify who the watchers might be. This feeling spread across generations until paranoia became part of daily life. Citizens lowered their voices during sensitive conversations. Criminals avoided certain buildings believed connected to hidden powers. Politicians feared private meetings becoming public through unknown surveillance routes. Even Gotham's elite sometimes behaved cautiously, as though aware the city itself listened constantly through unseen eyes hidden behind stone, steel, and darkness. Over time, Gotham's architecture stopped feeling accidental altogether. The city resembled a giant puzzle built across centuries by different groups, sharing one common goal, namely controlling information while protecting power. Public spaces created distractions. Underground systems enabled secrecy. Massive buildings generated intimidation. Hidden rooms preserved private operations beyond public awareness. Truth became difficult to find because Gotham physically buried it beneath layers of construction, history, and deliberate confusion. And perhaps that was the true purpose behind the city's design, not simply transportation or industry, but concealment. Gotham protected hidden power through architecture, the same way other cities used laws or armies. The city's structure itself became part of the machinery, maintaining fear, secrecy, and control generation after generation, while ordinary citizens moved unknowingly across the surface above. Every hidden tunnel, forgotten station, sealed chamber, and secret passage whispered the same unsettling possibility. Gotham was never built for the people living inside it. It was built for the people hiding within it. Fear as a tool of control. Inside Gotham City, fear became more powerful than laws, long before most citizens fully understood what was happening to them. Because laws require trust in institutions, trust in fairness, trust that justice will eventually arrive for those who suffer. Yet Gotham slowly lost that trust across generations until fear replaced it as the city's true language. People no longer behaved correctly because they believed in order or morality. Instead, they learned to survive by avoiding danger, staying quiet, and adapting emotionally to a city where almost every system seemed unstable. Fear moved through Gotham more efficiently than any police force ever could, shaping how people worked, traveled, spoke, voted, trusted, and even dreamed. The most frightening part was how invisible this control often became. In many places, fear arrived suddenly through war, disaster, or open violence, but Gotham's fear developed slowly until citizens stopped noticing how deeply it shaped daily life. Parents checked windows repeatedly before sleeping. Shop owners closed businesses earlier each year. Workers avoided certain streets after sunset without needing explanations. Children learned which subway stations felt dangerous long before becoming old enough to understand crime statistics or politics. The city trained people psychologically through repetition. Every violent attack shown on television, every corruption scandal exposed in newspapers, Every siren echoing through the night added another layer of tension, settling quietly inside Gotham's population. Over time, fear stopped feeling temporary and became permanent, like pressure constantly resting against the mind, and powerful people learned how useful that pressure could be. Politicians understood frightened citizens were easier to influence because fear makes people desperate for protection. Media companies realized terrifying headlines captured attention more effectively than calm reporting. Criminal organizations recognized that public fear increased the value of protection rackets, private security, and underground influence. Gotham's elites benefited too because anxious populations rarely unite strongly enough to challenge systems of inherited power. This created a city where almost everyone used fear in some form. The media played an enormous role in spreading this atmosphere. News broadcasts inside Gotham rarely focused only on information. They focused on emotional impact. Violent crimes repeated endlessly across television screens, while reporters spoke dramatically about chaos, instability, and threats spreading through the city. Newspapers filled front pages with murder scenes, political scandals, and terrifying criminal acts because fear sold stories more effectively than hope ever could. Citizens woke each morning already expecting bad news. The constant flow of frightening images slowly changed how Gotham viewed itself. Instead of seeing their city as a place capable of healing, many citizens began seeing Gotham as permanently cursed, permanently dangerous, and permanently unstable. This psychological shift mattered deeply because once people stop believing improvement is possible, fear gains even greater control over behavior. Media manipulation extended beyond simple sensationalism too. Powerful business interests connected to political and financial elites often influenced which stories received attention and which disappeared quietly. Corruption investigations threatening wealthy figures sometimes vanished beneath newer, violent headlines, distracting public focus elsewhere. Certain criminals received enormous media attention while deeper institutional failures remained less visible. Fear became useful partly because it kept citizens emotionally overwhelmed and constantly reacting, instead of calmly examining larger systems behind Gotham's problems. Politicians learned to exploit this perfectly. During elections, candidates promised security, stronger policing, harsher punishments, emergency powers, surveillance expansion, and aggressive anti-crime campaigns. Fear allowed leaders to present themselves as protectors while avoiding deeper conversations about corruption, poverty, trauma, or institutional failure. Gotham's citizens often voted not for hope, but for whoever seemed most capable of preventing the next disaster. And still, the disasters continued, because fear itself became part of Gotham's economy and political structure. Criminal organizations benefited from frightened neighborhoods dependent on unofficial protection systems. Wealthy elites expanded private security industries. Politicians gained power through emergency measures. Media companies profited from endless public anxiety. Even corrupt institutions used fear to discourage scrutiny, because citizens overwhelmed by daily survival rarely possessed the energy to challenge larger hidden systems effectively. Meanwhile, Gotham's villains transformed fear into spectacle. Unlike traditional criminals, motivated only by money, many of Gotham's later dangerous figures understood psychological warfare deeply. They did not merely commit crimes. They staged public nightmares designed to break emotional stability across the city itself. Explosions, public threats, symbolic murders, poisoned broadcasts, mass panic, and terrifying performances all became tools meant to remind Gotham's citizens that nowhere felt truly safe anymore. The city became a stage for fear. Each villain reflected a different version of Gotham's psychological collapse. Some used unpredictability to destroy public trust completely. Others exploited paranoia, isolation, humiliation, or trauma. Their crimes often carried symbolic meaning intended to wound Gotham emotionally as much as physically. And while these villains appeared radically different from Gotham's elite or corrupt institutions, they often shared something important beneath the surface. All of them relied on fear as control. Organized crime used intimidation. Politicians used public anxiety. Wealthy elites used social pressure and hidden influence. Corrupt police officers used threats and silence. Villains used terror openly. Even Batman himself weaponized fear against criminals by transforming himself into a dark symbol haunting Gotham's night. Fear connected every layer of the city. That connection created an unsettling realization. Gotham's systems often looked divided publicly while functioning psychologically in similar ways underneath. Everyone understood fear worked. Everyone used it. Everyone depended on it to some degree. The Court of Owls allegedly mastered this better than anyone. Unlike criminals seeking attention, the court supposedly preferred invisible fear, the kind created through uncertainty, rumors, and unseen pressure, rather than public violence alone. Citizens feared hidden watchers. Politicians feared private scandals. Investigators feared disappearing after learning too much. Gotham's oldest powers rarely needed loud threats because uncertainty itself already weakened people emotionally. This constant psychological pressure changed Gotham's citizens slowly over time. People adapted because adaptation became necessary for survival. Ordinary workers learned not to react strongly when hearing distant gunfire. Families kept emergency supplies automatically. Citizens memorized safer travel routes through the city. Parents taught children survival instincts earlier than children should ever need to learn them. Gotham normalized emotional exhaustion until many citizens barely remembered what genuine safety felt like anymore. The city's population developed strange habits reflecting this adaptation. People avoided eye contact in dangerous areas. Conversations lowered immediately when discussing powerful figures or corruption. Crowded public spaces created tension instead of comfort. Citizens checked exits automatically upon entering buildings. Gotham's people remained mentally alert constantly because the environment trained them to expect danger at any moment. This psychological adaptation carried enormous consequences. Over time, fear reduced empathy. Citizens exposed constantly to violence and corruption often became emotionally numb because remaining fully sensitive inside Gotham would feel unbearable after enough years passed. Terrible news no longer shocked people for long. Another scandal, another murder, another escape from Arkham Asylum, another political betrayal, all blended together into the city's endless emotional noise. That numbness benefited hidden systems greatly. Exhausted populations rarely organize effectively. Emotionally drained citizens struggle maintaining outrage long enough to force meaningful reform. Fear and hopelessness weakened Gotham's collective resistance, while powerful structures continued operating above them almost untouched. And still the city kept moving. Subways filled each morning. Offices opened. Schools continued, teaching children beneath the shadow of violence surrounding them. Restaurants served customers, while television screens reported fresh crimes nearby. Gotham's citizens developed the frightening ability to continue daily life beside constant psychological pressure, because stopping entirely would mean surrendering to despair. This endurance sometimes looked like strength from the outside, but often it was simply survival. Children growing up inside Gotham inherited emotional patterns from parents already shaped by fear themselves. Trauma passed quietly between generations through behavior, caution, distrust, and emotional exhaustion. A father teaching his child never to walk alone at night passed along more than safety advice. He passed along Gotham's psychological inheritance. And perhaps that was the city's greatest victory over its people. Not violence alone, but normalization. Fear became ordinary enough that citizens stopped imagining alternatives. Gotham convinced people constant anxiety represented normal urban life rather than evidence of deep systemic sickness. Once fear becomes normal, control becomes easier because people stop recognizing how controlled they already are. Even hope became dangerous sometimes. Optimistic politicians attracted corruption scandals quickly. Honest reformers faced intimidation. Journalists exposing hidden truths encountered threats or isolation. Citizens challenging powerful systems risked careers, reputations, or safety. Gotham punished idealism often enough that many people learned caution felt safer than courage. This created a city psychologically trapped between fear and resignation. And somewhere behind all of this, hidden powers continued benefiting from the atmosphere surrounding Gotham. Elites remained protected inside secure districts, while ordinary citizens absorbed most of the emotional pressure. Corrupt systems survived because fear distracted attention constantly. Villains gained symbolic power through public panic. Media companies profited from endless anxiety. The city itself almost seemed addicted to fear. Without it, many structures maintaining Gotham's balance might collapse entirely. That possibility raised terrifying questions. What if Gotham's fear was not simply the result of corruption and violence, but one of the mechanisms keeping the city's hidden systems alive? What if fear itself functioned like infrastructure, shaping behavior more effectively than laws, prisons, or public institutions ever could? Because inside Gotham, fear did not merely exist alongside power. Fear was power. And the longer citizens lived beneath its weight, the harder it became to remember where the fear ended and where Gotham itself truly began. Batman versus the Court of Owls. For most of his life, Batman believed he understood Gotham City better than anyone else alive, because Bruce Wayne had spent years studying the city's history, architecture, criminal networks, political corruption, psychological violence, and hidden patterns, while dedicating every part of himself to protecting Gotham from the darkness consuming it. He memorized its streets, investigated its institutions, fought its criminals, and moved through its shadows night after night until the city almost felt connected directly to his own mind. Batman often viewed Gotham not simply as a place he protected, but as something he knew completely, perhaps even more deeply than the people living ordinary lives beneath its endless reign and towering buildings. And that confidence became exactly what the Court of Owls wanted to destroy. Because the court understood something deeply important about Bruce Wayne long before he fully understood them. Batman's greatest strength was not only his intelligence, physical skill, or determination. His strength came from certainty, from the belief that no matter how dark Gotham became, he could eventually uncover the truth hiding beneath it. Batman survived impossible situations because he trusted his understanding of the city, trusted his investigations, and trusted that careful preparation could overcome almost any enemy. The court attacked that certainty directly. At first, the conflict began quietly, through scattered clues and strange inconsistencies that slowly disrupted Batman's understanding of Gotham's history. Murders connected to old families revealed hidden symbols. Ancient records contradicted everything Bruce believed about certain parts of the city's past. Secret passages appeared inside buildings he thought he knew completely. Witnesses spoke about hidden rulers watching Gotham for centuries, while evidence surrounding them vanished almost immediately afterward. Initially, Batman treated these discoveries like any other conspiracy, another criminal network hidden beneath Gotham's corruption. He believed the Court of Owls was simply a myth powerful people used to frighten one another, perhaps exaggerated through generations of fear and rumor. But the court wanted Batman to make that mistake. Because unlike Gotham's ordinary criminals, the court did not seek immediate violence or attention. They operated patiently, allowing Bruce to investigate deeper, while carefully guiding him toward the horrifying realization that he had spent years protecting a city he never truly understood at all. This realization struck Bruce harder than physical injury ever could. The court existed inside Gotham's oldest layers, hidden within architecture, history, elite families, and secret systems stretching backward through centuries before Batman's birth. They knew passages beneath the city, unknown even to him. They possessed knowledge about Gotham's foundations that Bruce Wayne, despite his family's history and wealth, had never uncovered. Most disturbingly, they viewed Batman not as Gotham's ruler or protector, but as an outsider wandering through territory that already belonged to them. That insult carried enormous psychological weight. Bruce Wayne had sacrificed everything for Gotham. He gave his life, safety, relationships, and peace of mind to protect the city from destruction. Batman endured endless violence, loneliness, and emotional pain because he believed Gotham mattered more than his own happiness. Yet now, the Court of Owls challenged the very idea that Gotham belonged to him in any meaningful way. According to the court, Gotham never belonged to Batman. It belonged to them. This conflict transformed quickly into something much larger than physical combat between enemies. It became a war over identity, ownership, and truth itself. Batman represented the belief that Gotham could still be protected through justice, investigation, and relentless resistance against corruption. The court represented inherited control, hidden influence, and ancient systems shaping Gotham long before Batman ever appeared. And the court understood psychological warfare perfectly. They attacked Bruce's confidence methodically by forcing him to confront evidence that his knowledge of Gotham remained incomplete despite decades of obsession. Secret chambers existed beneath buildings Wayne Enterprises had operated around for years without discovery. Historical records revealed connections between powerful Gotham families and hidden conspiracies reaching across generations. Even the city's architecture contained coded messages and hidden routes Bruce never noticed until the court deliberately revealed them. Every discovery wounded Batman emotionally, because each one proved the same terrifying truth. He had never truly seen Gotham clearly. The court pushed this idea constantly during their confrontations. They described Batman as arrogant for believing he could understand a city shaped by forces older than himself. They mocked Bruce Wayne's belief that wealth and intelligence granted him authority over Gotham's future. Most cruelly, they treated his mission almost like a child's rebellion against systems far too ancient and powerful for one man to defeat. This emotional pressure intensified once the court unleashed their talons against Batman directly. Unlike ordinary criminals who feared him, the Talons attacked with cold discipline and complete loyalty to the court's vision of Gotham. They moved through hidden pathways across the city with terrifying precision, appearing inside supposedly secure locations while striking from directions Batman often failed to predict. Their existence alone proved the court's influence reached far deeper into Gotham than Bruce originally imagined possible. Yet the court's most devastating attack came when they captured Batman and trapped him within one of their hidden labyrinths beneath Gotham. This storyline became one of the defining moments in Batman's entire history because it shattered the illusion of control Bruce carried for so many years. The labyrinth was not simply a prison. It was psychological torture designed specifically to break Batman mentally by turning Gotham itself against him. Inside the maze, Bruce lost all sense of time and direction. The court manipulated lighting, architecture, starvation, exhaustion, and hallucinations until Batman could no longer trust his own senses. Endless corridors twisted through darkness while hidden messages mocked him from the walls. The labyrinth forced Bruce to experience Gotham as something alive, hostile, and unknowable, a city capable of swallowing even him, despite everything he believed about his own mastery over it. For perhaps the first time since becoming Batman, Bruce Wayne truly felt powerless. That fear mattered deeply because Batman built his identity around preparation and understanding. He survived because he studied threats carefully before confronting them. Yet the court deliberately created a situation where knowledge failed him completely. Gotham's hidden rulers transformed the city's secret architecture into a weapon aimed directly at Batman's mind. And during those moments trapped beneath Gotham, Bruce confronted an unbearable possibility. What if the court was right? What if Gotham never truly belonged to its citizens, its heroes, or even its visible institutions? What if the city had always belonged to hidden powers, operating beneath public life, while everyone else simply moved through systems they barely understood? These questions attacked Batman at his emotional core because Bruce's mission depended on believing Gotham could still be saved. Without that belief, his entire identity risked collapsing beneath hopelessness. Yet despite everything the court threw against him, Batman refused to surrender psychologically. That refusal became central to the conflict between Batman and the Court of Owls across multiple storylines. The court believed Gotham's hidden structures made resistance meaningless eventually. They trusted inherited influence, secrecy, fear, and history itself. Batman, however, represented something unpredictable within their carefully controlled systems: persistence. Bruce Wayne continued investigating even after learning painful truths about Gotham's hidden past. He exposed sections of the court's operations publicly. He fought Talons directly, despite overwhelming danger. Most importantly, he challenged the court's belief that Gotham belonged exclusively to ancient elites controlling the city from darkness. This struggle reflected two completely different visions of Gotham. The court viewed Gotham as property, a city shaped and owned by hidden rulers across generations. Citizens existed beneath them, almost like pieces inside a larger machine, designed to maintain elite control forever. Corruption, fear, secrecy, and violence became acceptable because those things preserved the court's authority. Batman viewed Gotham differently. To Bruce Wayne, Gotham belonged to its people, especially the innocent citizens trapped beneath corruption and fear. The city's suffering mattered because human lives mattered. Batman fought not to rule Gotham, but to prevent powerful forces from destroying it completely. And this difference made the conflict deeply personal. The court saw Batman as a threat because he inspired resistance against hidden control. Ordinary citizens began believing someone could challenge Gotham's ancient systems openly without surrendering immediately. Corrupt officials feared exposure. Criminal organizations lost confidence. Even Gotham's elite started questioning whether the court's secrecy could survive forever once Batman uncovered pieces of the truth publicly. At the same time, Batman himself changed through the conflict. Before encountering the court directly, Bruce often approached Gotham like a solvable mystery, believing intelligence and determination could eventually uncover every hidden truth. After the court, he understood Gotham differently. The city became larger, older, and more psychologically complicated than he previously imagined. There were layers beneath layers, hidden histories beneath public histories, secret structures beneath visible institutions, entire generations of manipulation shaping Gotham long before Batman's existence. Bruce realized Gotham could never be understood completely because the city constantly concealed parts of itself within darkness, architecture, fear, and inherited power. That realization made Batman both stronger and lonelier. Stronger because he stopped underestimating Gotham's hidden forces. Lonelier because he understood how isolated his mission truly was. He was fighting systems centuries old, with no guarantee victory was even possible. And still, he continued. Night after night, Batman returned to Gotham's rooftops, knowing the Court of Owls still lingered somewhere within the city's shadows, perhaps weakened, but never fully destroyed. Their hidden chambers remained buried beneath Gotham. Their influence continued moving quietly through elite circles. Their belief in owning the city survived despite Batman's resistance. In many ways, the battle never truly ended, because the conflict between Batman and the court was never only about physical victory. It was about Gotham's soul itself, about whether the city belonged to hidden rulers manipulating fear and secrecy from darkness, or whether someone could still stand against those systems and fight for ordinary people trapped beneath them. And perhaps that was why the struggle became so endless. Both Batman and the court loved Gotham in their own terrifying ways. They simply disagreed completely about what Gotham was meant to become. The shadow government revealed. By the time people inside Gotham City began seriously questioning who truly controlled the city, the answer had already become far more complicated than a single criminal empire, a single corrupt mayor, or even the hidden influence of the Court of Owls alone. Because Gotham's real shadow government did not operate like an ordinary organization with one leader giving direct orders from a hidden room somewhere beneath the city. Instead, It functioned more like a vast network spreading quietly through politics, business, law enforcement, media, elite families, organized crime, and historical institutions, until the boundaries separating these systems almost disappeared completely. That was what made Gotham so difficult to understand. Most people searching for corruption expect to find one clear source behind everything, one criminal mastermind, one secret group, or one conspiracy connecting every terrible event together neatly. Gotham did not work that way. The city's darkness survived precisely because power became scattered across many connected systems, all protecting one another while appearing separate on the surface. The Court of Owls represented one layer of that structure. The mafia families represented another. Corrupt politicians, wealthy business elites, compromised police officials, media executives, and hidden financial networks formed additional layers beneath the city's visible reality. Sometimes these groups cooperated directly. Other times they competed fiercely with one another. Yet despite conflicts between individuals and organizations, the larger system protecting Gotham's hidden power somehow continued surviving generation after generation, and perhaps that was the true shadow government. Not a single ruler sitting above Gotham, but an entire ecosystem designed to preserve control regardless of which public faces appeared at the front. This realization changed how Gotham itself looked. The mayor standing before cameras during elections no longer seemed like the city's true leader. Police commissioners promising reform looked increasingly temporary. Even organized crime bosses who once appeared powerful began resembling only one piece within a much larger machine hidden underneath the city's surface. Public leaders came and went constantly. Mayors lost elections, criminal empires collapsed, police commanders retired or disappeared beneath scandal. Wealthy executives died and left fortunes to younger generations. Yet Gotham's deeper structure remained strangely stable despite all these visible changes. Corruption survived every political crisis. Fear remained woven into the city's daily life. Hidden influence continued shaping institutions quietly from behind the scenes. That continuity revealed something deeply important. The shadow government inside Gotham depended less on individuals and more on systems. A corrupt politician mattered less than the political environment rewarding corruption repeatedly. One organized crime family mattered less than the financial structures allowing criminal influence to blend seamlessly into Gotham's economy. Even the Court of Owls itself became frightening, partly because it symbolized how hidden systems could survive beyond the lifetimes of individual members. The city preserved power through inheritance, secrecy, and adaptation. When one figure fell, another quietly replaced them. When one criminal network collapsed, new groups inherited its territory and political connections. When public outrage threatened certain institutions, media distractions redirected attention elsewhere until citizens became exhausted again. Gotham's shadow government operated almost like a living organism, protecting itself constantly through adjustment and survival. And ordinary citizens rarely saw the full picture clearly because the system depended on fragmentation. Most people only experienced one part of Gotham's corruption at a time. A business owner dealt with bribery. A police officer encountered intimidation. A journalist uncovered political manipulation. A family suffered from organized crime violence. A voter watched another corrupt politician escape consequences. Each individual saw only fragments of the larger structure, making the entire network difficult to recognize completely. This confusion protected Gotham's hidden systems powerfully, because people struggling to survive daily life rarely possess enough information, energy, or influence to connect every layer together. Gotham overwhelmed citizens psychologically through constant crises, forcing attention toward immediate danger while deeper structures remained hidden behind endless noise. The Court of Owls allegedly understood this perfectly. According to Gotham's darkest theories, the court never needed direct public rule because the city's systems already preserved their interests naturally. Corrupt officials protected elite wealth. Organized crime maintained fear within poorer districts. Media sensationalism distracted public focus, Economic inequality weakened resistance. Political instability kept citizens emotionally exhausted. The court therefore acted less like traditional rulers and more like hidden caretakers, maintaining Gotham's deeper balance from the shadows. That balance depended heavily on secrecy. But secrecy inside Gotham did not survive simply because information remained hidden physically. It survived because citizens slowly stopped believing uncovering the truth would matter even if someone exposed it publicly. That emotional collapse became one of Gotham's greatest tragedies. Generation after generation, people watched corruption scandals disappear without meaningful consequences. Powerful figures escaped punishment repeatedly. Organized crime adapted faster than reform efforts. Honest officials failed or vanished. Violence continued despite endless political promises. Eventually, many citizens reached the same painful conclusion. Nothing ever truly changes in Gotham. Once enough people believe that, secrecy becomes much easier to maintain. Why risk safety exposing corruption if the system will protect itself anyway? Why trust politicians promising reform after decades of disappointment? Why investigate hidden power structures when previous investigators disappeared, failed, or became corrupted themselves? Hopelessness became part of Gotham's control system. The shadow government therefore relied not only on violence or bribery, but on emotional exhaustion spreading through the city's population over time. Citizens overwhelmed by fear and disappointment often stop resisting entirely because survival alone already feels difficult enough. This psychological surrender protected Gotham's hidden systems more effectively than force alone ever could. And still the city presented itself publicly as democratic and lawful. Elections continued, courts remained open, police departments operated visibly, news organizations reported scandals, wealthy elites donated money to charities and public projects. Gotham maintained the appearance of functioning institutions, while deeper systems quietly shaped outcomes beneath the surface. That dual reality made the city especially dangerous, because Gotham did not resemble an obvious dictatorship controlled openly by tyrants. Instead, power remained hidden behind familiar structures people recognized as normal parts of urban life. Citizens therefore struggled identifying exactly where corruption ended and legitimate authority began. Some officials inside Gotham genuinely wanted reform. There were honest judges, investigators, journalists, police officers, and politicians trying to challenge corruption sincerely. Yet the shadow government rarely needed to destroy all resistance completely. It only needed to weaken reform enough to preserve the larger system. An honest mayor could improve certain neighborhoods temporarily, while financial elites maintained economic control elsewhere. A police crackdown might remove one criminal organization, while another inherited its operations quietly afterward. Journalists could expose scandals without altering deeper structures, protecting inherited power across generations. This created the illusion of movement without fundamental transformation. Gotham changed constantly, while remaining deeply the same underneath. Even Batman struggled against this reality. Batman could stop individual criminals, expose conspiracies, and disrupt hidden operations. Yet Gotham's deeper systems always seemed capable of rebuilding themselves eventually. Every victory revealed another layer beneath it. Every exposed secret connected to older secrets buried deeper within the city's history. The shadow government survived, partly because no single enemy existed to defeat completely. Destroying one mafia family did not eliminate corruption. Arresting politicians did not remove elite influence. Exposing parts of the Court of Owls did not erase the hidden structures protecting Gotham's oldest powers. The city's systems reinforced one another constantly like interlocking walls surrounding the truth from every direction. And perhaps the most disturbing part was how ordinary Gotham's hidden rulers often appeared publicly. They attended charity galas, political fundraisers, corporate meetings, and cultural events. They spoke about civic responsibility, economic growth, public safety, and Gotham's future, while quietly benefiting from the same systems keeping the city unstable beneath the surface. Some may not even have viewed themselves as evil directly. Many likely believed maintaining order, even corrupt order, mattered more than risking chaos through dramatic change. That mindset reflected Gotham's deepest sickness. The shadow government did not always preserve corruption, because every individual within it enjoyed cruelty or violence. Sometimes they simply feared losing power, wealth, status, or stability if the system collapsed completely. Over time, preserving the system became more important than protecting justice, and Gotham's citizens felt the consequences everywhere. Families trapped in dangerous neighborhoods watched wealthy districts remain protected behind private security and political influence. Workers struggled economically, while elite investors profited during crises. Honest people learned caution because speaking too openly carried risks. Entire generations inherited fear, distrust, and emotional exhaustion from parents already shaped by Gotham's endless instability. The city's hidden rulers rarely needed to announce themselves, because Gotham's environment already reflected their influence constantly. Every corrupt deal, every failed reform, every silenced investigation, every frightened citizen contributed to the larger structure keeping power concentrated behind the scenes. And still the city continued moving forward somehow. Subways carried exhausted workers each morning. Schools taught children beneath decaying infrastructure. Television screens reported new scandals nightly. Rain covered streets where citizens hurried past one another, avoiding eye contact while enormous towers watched silently above them. Gotham's shadow government existed everywhere and nowhere at once. Inside financial systems, inside inherited wealth, inside corrupted institutions, inside fear itself. That was what made it so difficult to fight, because the shadow government was not hiding in one secret room beneath Gotham, waiting to be exposed dramatically. It lived inside the city's relationships, habits, systems, and history so deeply that removing it entirely might require rebuilding Gotham itself from the ground upward. And perhaps that was why so many citizens eventually stopped believing real change could happen. Not because Gotham lacked heroes or honest people, but because the city's hidden structures had survived for so long that they began feeling permanent, like part of Gotham's natural landscape, rather than systems created by human choices. The greatest protection Gotham's shadow government ever possessed was not secrecy alone. It was hopelessness, the endless night of Gotham. After everything that has happened inside Gotham City, after the endless investigations, political scandals, organized crime wars, hidden conspiracies, masked vigilantes, broken institutions, and generations of fear stretching across the city's history, one question continues lingering over Gotham like rain clouds refusing to move away. Because no matter how many heroes rise to protect the city, no matter how many criminals fall, and no matter how many battles are fought beneath its dark skyline, Gotham always seems to return to the same place eventually. Violence returns. Corruption rebuilds itself. Fear spreads again through the streets, and somewhere within the city's endless shadows, old systems quietly survive long enough to begin the cycle all over again. That pattern has haunted Gotham for generations. Many cities experience crime, corruption, and hardship. Yet Gotham feels different because its darkness never behaves like a temporary crisis that can simply be solved through arrests, elections, or reform campaigns. Instead, the city's suffering appears deeply rooted within its identity itself, almost as though Gotham absorbs pain over time and stores it beneath the streets, inside its buildings, within its institutions, and inside the minds of the people forced to survive there. Even heroes eventually begin noticing this. Batman dedicates his entire life to protecting Gotham, sacrificing sleep, peace, relationships, and personal happiness to prevent the city from collapsing entirely beneath its own violence. Honest police officers continue fighting corruption despite enormous pressure against them. Journalists expose scandals. Ordinary citizens struggle to build decent lives inside dangerous neighborhoods. Again and again, People try to pull Gotham towards something better, yet the city always resists. Criminal organizations fall before new ones appear. Corrupt politicians disappear while others quietly replace them. Arkham continues filling with broken minds. Fear spreads through new forms each generation. Gotham changes its face constantly, while preserving the same emotional atmosphere underneath, like a wound that heals just enough to survive before opening once more. Over time, many people began wondering whether Gotham itself shapes the people living inside it. The city carries a psychological weight, difficult to explain fully to outsiders. Constant exposure to fear changes behavior slowly. Endless corruption weakens trust. Violence repeated across generations reshapes how families raise children and how communities view survival. Gotham teaches caution, suspicion, emotional distance, and adaptation because those qualities often become necessary simply to endure daily life there. A child growing up in Gotham learns different lessons than children elsewhere. They learn which streets feel dangerous after dark. They learn how quickly public institutions can fail. They learn that wealth often protects certain people from consequences, while poorer communities absorb the worst suffering repeatedly. They learn that fear never fully disappears, even during calm moments, because Gotham always carries the feeling that something terrible may happen again at any time. Those lessons remain long after childhood ends. Fear passes quietly between generations like inheritance. Parents traumatized by violence raise children already shaped by anxiety and distrust. Communities damaged by corruption struggle believing reform is possible. Families surviving organized crime, poverty, or loss carry emotional scars, influencing decisions for decades afterward. Gotham's trauma does not disappear when individual events end, because the psychological damage continues living inside the people who experienced it. This repetition slowly shapes the city itself. Entire neighborhoods begin carrying emotional memory. Certain buildings become associated with tragedy. Streets connected to violence gain reputations lasting generations. Citizens avoid places not only because of present danger, but because Gotham remembers its own suffering collectively through stories, rumors, habits, and fear passed downward over time. And above all of this, power continues moving quietly through the same hidden structures. The wealthy elite preserve influence across generations. Corrupt systems adapt rather than disappear. Hidden organizations survive by remaining patient, while public attention shifts elsewhere. Gotham's oldest rulers understand something many ordinary citizens eventually forget, namely that time itself protects powerful systems. If those systems survive long enough, people grow tired, heroes become exhausted, citizens lose hope. But hidden power structures often remain patient enough to outlast resistance. That patience becomes terrifying inside Gotham because the city constantly produces emotional exhaustion strong enough to weaken even determined people eventually. Endless scandals, violence, betrayals, and failures slowly wear down public belief that meaningful change can truly last. Gotham's citizens continue surviving, working, raising families, and moving through daily life. Yet beneath those routines often exists quiet resignation, the feeling that darkness will always return no matter how hard anyone fights against it. And perhaps Gotham's hidden rulers rely on that feeling more than anything else, because fear alone controls people temporarily, but hopelessness controls them far longer. A frightened population may still rebel eventually. A hopeless population often stops trying. This creates one of Gotham's deepest tragedies. The city contains countless brave people willing to risk themselves for others. Yet bravery becomes difficult to sustain across generations when corruption and violence repeatedly survive every apparent victory. Even Batman, despite his relentless determination, often seems less like a hero marching toward final triumph and more like a guardian holding back collapse night after night without ever fully defeating the darkness underneath. Still, he continues. And that matters, because Gotham's story is not only about corruption, hidden rulers, or endless violence. It is also about resistance, refusing to disappear completely despite overwhelming pressure. Honest citizens still exist. Compassion still survives in certain corners of the city. Families still protect one another. People still help strangers during disasters. Gotham produces fear constantly, yet somehow it also continues producing individuals willing to stand against that fear, even while knowing the battle may never fully end. Perhaps that contradiction defines Gotham more than anything else. The city destroys people while also creating extraordinary resilience within them. Bruce Wayne became Batman because Gotham wounded him deeply enough that he could not ignore the suffering surrounding him anymore. Some police officers remain honest precisely because corruption disgusts them after witnessing its damage firsthand. Journalists continue exposing hidden truths despite threats because silence feels worse than danger. Gotham creates brokenness, yet occasionally it also creates defiance strong enough to challenge that brokenness directly. But the city always demands a price. Batman sacrifices nearly everything for Gotham. Honest officials risk careers and lives. Citizens living in dangerous neighborhoods carry constant emotional pressure, difficult for outsiders to fully understand. Gotham never allows heroism to remain simple or clean, because survival there always involves compromise, pain, exhaustion, or loneliness, eventually. And through all of this, the city itself keeps watching. Rain continues falling across rooftops and narrow streets. Old towers remain standing above neighborhoods shaped by generations of fear. Hidden tunnels still stretch beneath the city, where forgotten secrets sleep in darkness. Arkham's lights glow faintly through the night, while distant sirens echo between buildings, carrying memories older than many citizens realize. The Court of Owls may survive somewhere beneath Gotham still, perhaps weakened, perhaps waiting, perhaps simply adapting once again while the city changes around them. That uncertainty matters because Gotham never fully reveals all its truths at once. Hidden powers retreat into silence whenever public attention grows too strong. Corrupt systems collapse partially before rebuilding through different faces and institutions later. Gotham preserves mysteries carefully, allowing rumors and fear to survive across generations until nobody can separate legend from reality completely anymore. And maybe that is why the city's darkness feels endless. Not because evil always wins openly, but because Gotham never fully escapes the structures carrying its pain forward from one generation into the next. Fear shapes children who become fearful adults. Corruption creates distrust that weakens communities. Trauma spreads through families quietly over decades. Hidden rulers protect systems benefiting from instability, while ordinary citizens struggle simply to endure daily life. The city becomes trapped inside its own emotional history, yet still Gotham survives somehow. Subways continue moving beneath the streets. Office windows glow late into the night. Small restaurants remain open during rainstorms. Parents tuck children into bed while distant thunder rolls above the skyline. Citizens wake each morning and continue living despite everything the city has done to them. That endurance carries something almost beautiful hidden beneath the tragedy. Because even after generations of fear, Gotham's people have not disappeared, and neither has the darkness. As night settles fully across the city once again, pale streetlights reflect softly against rain-covered pavement, while fog drifts between enormous buildings rising into the clouds above. Somewhere distant, the signal still burns against the sky. Somewhere beneath the streets, hidden chambers remain sealed behind ancient walls. Somewhere inside Gotham's oldest towers and forgotten tunnels, unseen eyes may still watch patiently from the shadows. The city grows quieter after midnight. Traffic fades. Windows darken one by one. Rain taps gently against stone and glass while Gotham rests beneath the weight of its own history. And somewhere in that endless darkness, its oldest rulers remain hidden still. And now, as the towering skyline of Gotham City slowly fades into the quiet distance, the hidden tunnels, shadowed courtrooms, forgotten railways, and whispered conspiracies begin to soften beneath the steady rhythm of the rain, no longer sharp with danger, but distant and quiet, like old stories drifting gently through the night air. The powerful families, the secret meetings, the masked guardians, and the unseen rulers watching from behind stone walls all settle back into Gotham's endless darkness, where mysteries are never fully solved, only hidden once more beneath the city's sleeping streets. And somewhere above those streets, beneath pale streetlights glowing softly through the fog, Batman continues his silent watch across the rooftops, still searching for truth inside a city that may never fully reveal itself. You can let the questions fade now, let the shadows drift farther away, and simply rest as Gotham grows quieter beneath the rain, where the lights grow dimmer, the streets become still, and the city slowly disappears into silence.